Hello everyone, welcome to our class of Basic Adobe XD for UI UX course. So if you are planning to learn UI UX in Adobe XD from the beginning, then you are in the right place. This is a basic level class, so if you do not have any previous experience, then it's okay because we will teach you all that you need to know as we go. So let's take a look at what you will be learning from this course. So at first we have introduction to Adobe XD and its interface, then tools and utilities, then how layers work, how to use grids, how to make wireframes, how to make buttons, how to make input fields, how to make auto animations, how to make micro interactions with those animations. We will learn a little bit about color theory, how to use color gradients, and how to use the mask, and also at the end, prototyping and components. So after completion, you will be able to have the basic usage knowledge for Adobe XD, how to operate Adobe XD. Then you will also have basic UI UX design knowledge, and also during the entire lesson, a bonus lesson is color theory. So you can also use color theory, learn about the color theory and how it is used in marketing basics, in case for UI UX design. Now do keep in mind that this is a project-based course, so at the end of the classes you will have one class project that will enable you to actively participate in it to practice or refine what you have learned throughout the entire course. You will be provided with supporting resources, so it will become easier to learn as you go. During learning, if you have any queries or any problems that you see or that you feel like you're having a problem in this sector, then do feel free to ask me. I will always be available to help if needed. So let us go ahead and get started with our course. I will be seeing you in our first lesson, which is the interface for Adobe XD. Hello everyone and welcome to our lesson for Adobe XD for UI UX. And for this lesson, we will be going with the interface on how you can maneuver throughout the entire workspace and interface of Adobe XD. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get started. As you can see here, you have, once you open up Adobe XD, this window will come up. Now, in this window, you have several segments of where you can go to. So on the top right here, let's start with the starter plan over here. So it basically means whatever plan that you pick on Adobe XD, once you download and install it, it will give you a 7-day trial. So that's the starter plan over here. You can go ahead and subscribe to them for whatever plans they have to have more utilities and tools available to you and more premium things available to you. On the left side here, you have the new file, you have the open. If you were to click on open, a window will pop up, and wherever you have saved any kind of document or any kind of project, you can go ahead, browse through that file explorer, and then you can open that project. You have the home button here where you have everything, and this is the home. You have the learn over here. So if I were to click on that, a web browser will open up showing you what to do with Adobe XD. Then you have your files, shared with you, manage links, and deleted, where you can see any kind of project that you have which you have deleted. Now in the center here, you have the start new document for, let's say, an iPhone. As you can see, 430 in times 932 pixels. Same for web, Instagram story, or custom size, where you can set the custom width and custom height of whatever file that you want to create with. So let's go ahead and get started with new file over here. So once I click on new file, you will have this window pop up. On the top left here, you have the file, edit, object, plugins, view, window, and help. So under the file here, you can create a new project file. Let me go ahead and first delete this. Then you have the open for opening up, then open from your computer, then open recent, where you can find your recent work. Then you have get UI kits. So if you were to click on this, a browser will pop up and you can have a lot of kits from that browser selection that you can download. There are a couple of free UI kits. There are a couple of limited free UI kits where you, in order to use more UI elements from those kits, you need to purchase a premium from that as well. And you have exclusive premium UI kits as well from that place, where you can buy and purchase any kind of UI kit and then use them. If you were to click on manage libraries over here, it will basically open up your library link here, anything that you save here in your library, like for example, current file. As you can see, we have the current file over here. Then under browse here, you will have the Adobe Creative Cloud open up, and then you can browse their website for more things that you can add in your library. Then you can close your file if you want to, your project. You can save your project. You can save your project as different forms of files, but that is mostly for exporting. Then you have the specific export over here for batch, selected, or all artboards or After Effects, where you can export your project here to After Effects and edit it further. And you can also import as well. Then under edit here, anything that you have, like for example, cut, copy. If I were to create anything, any object, and then I can use these options over here as well. You can select all, deselect all. You have the color profile here. You have the preferences here as well. Under the object, you will also have a lot of tools and utilities here that you can use in case for objects. Then you have plugins. So you have browse plugins, manage plugins, and development as well. So you can create a plugin. You can also get some developer tools. You can reload your plugins, which is like the legacy or the default one. You have the developer console as well, and show desktop folder as well. Underneath the view here, as you can see, layers is selected. So the layers over here are selected. If I were to select 100%, it will zoom into 100%. If we were to deselect layers over here, as you can see, the layers segment got deselected. So you will have libraries over here. So libraries here, as you can see, it has been selected over here. If I were to click on, let's say, layers again, it will turn back to layers. You have plugins over here. So you can search plugins using the discover plugins, and anything that you download for plugins, they will pop up over here as well. You have the guides where you can put some guides in. Then you have a show layer grid, layout grid, and you have show square grid. Then you have hide live cursors as well. So if I were to select this, it will hide the live cursors. Then underneath window over here, you have the preview, and you have the untitled segment over here. So if I were to click on preview, it will open up a preview over here, but that's under prototyping, and I'll teach you how you can do prototyping in a later lesson. Then underneath the help here, you have the Learn XD, you have the productivity tips, you have the user guide for how to use Adobe XD further. You have what's new, so you can all read the release notes and see what's new in Adobe XD. You can also provide a feedback to Adobe. You can also know about Adobe XD here. You can manage your account from here, and you can sign out from your account from here, and you can also check for any kind of updates from here. Now, we are under the design panel over here. You have the home panel where you can go, which we were before, when I clicked on create new file. And that's that window that you saw with the home, which is the button for this one. These are the tools at your disposal. This is the layers, this is the libraries, and at the bottom we have the plugins. So these are like some shortcuts. Instead of like going from up here, these are some shortcuts that have been given on the bottom left corner over here. You have the prototype over here, you have the share type over here. So if I were to click on share, I can create an artboard and share it while collaborating with a lot of other people. Here you have invite to document. You can invite other people to this document, and you can invite them to be, let's say, a collaborator, an editor, or just a viewer or a spectator. And here you have the device preview. So if I were to click on this, as you can see, to enable live device preview on iOS, download the latest version of iTunes and connect your device via USB. So it's for iPhones only, where you can like connect it to using the XD mobile app. to preview on Android, save your file as a cloud document and open it using the XD mobile app. Here you have the prototyping play option, the desktop preview, which, as I mentioned before, I'm going to go through upcoming lesson. And over here, the panel that you see where all these options are not available right now is your utilities for the tools or the selection for any kind of object. And this will all get activated once I create an object, and this will then, and select that object, then this option panels here will open up for me to further edit upon that object. And that is basically it for all the interface and how you can move through this interface and use Adobe XD. That'll be all for this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Hello everyone, and welcome to another lesson for Adobe XD for UI UX. And for this lesson, we will be going through the tools and utilities which are available to use in Adobe XD. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, I have Adobe XD here opened up, and I created a new file and I renamed the new file Tools and Utilities. So how do you rename a file, for example? So if I were to go to home, click home here, as you can see home over here. And if you were to go ahead, go to your files over here, you can go ahead and like say any kind of file that you can select, the option buttons over here, and then you can rename, and there you can rename that file. It also works with any concurrent file that you are editing or creating at this point. Like present time, I'm using this. I can go ahead and rename this, and it will also update over here as well on the top. So let's go ahead and get started with what the tools are here in Adobe XD and some uses for them. So first we have the selection tool over here, or V. You can press V to select the selection tool. And you can select any kind of object, but we have no object over here. So then you have the rectangle shape over here. And so I'm going to go ahead and select the rectangle. As you can see, my pointer's changed. Now if I were to click and drag, I will create a rectangle. Now I cannot, as you can see, I cannot select it. If I were to click and drag again, I'll end up create another rectangle. So I'll go ahead and select the selection tool over here, then select this rectangle, and then I can move this around, as you can see. Now, instead of going to the utilities over here, and you need to understand the selection tools work first. So with the selection tool, if I were to select any kind of like any corner and round it, as you can see, it can round up that corner. If I were to hold on Control only and drag, the same thing happens. But if I were to click on this, nothing happens. As you can see, same thing happens. If I were to click and drag this, as you can see, nothing happens while holding on Control. But if I were to hold on Shift, it will uniformly scale it up and down while dragging. If I were to hold on Shift and drag the corners, nothing happens. But if I were to hold on Alt and drag, that corner only will rotate or curve, as you saw. Now, if I were to hold on Alt and scale this like this, so it will scale the opposite side uniformly like this. If I were to do the same for this, it will also do the same. And if I were to rotate it like this, nothing happens. But if I were to hold on Shift, it will snap itself to different angles, as you can see. Now on the right side here, as you can see the angles over here. So if I were to hold on Shift, notice this part. If I were to hold on Shift, rotate it, as you see 15. Rotate it again, 13, then 45. So it snaps to a 15-degree angle of rotation. Now you can right click on it and you'll have a lot of other options over here. But before that, let me go ahead and go through some of the options and utilities and tools that we have on the right side panel over here. So at first you have the component over here, which I will be explaining on in a later lesson. You have the transform where you can change the width, change the height over here. So let's say I give 400 by 400. So I will have a perfect square. Once I hit enter, there you go. And now I have a perfect square. Now the X and Y here basically determines the position. This is the X axis, if the horizontal, and this is the Y axis, like the vertical. So it's going to show the position of your object on your artboard or on your entire whiteboard over here. The angle here is the same. And you have, as you can see, flip horizontal, flip vertical. So let me go ahead, angle it like this. Now if I were to, let's say, flip horizontal, as you can see, it flips. But to flip vertical, it also flips. Now you have the option here, scroll groups. So define areas within an artboard that scroll independently. So you can scroll them independently to create like very good UI designs as well. We will be using this in later on lesson when we create some unique designs. Then you have the vertical scroll. Then you have the horizontal and vertical scroll for both. These scroll options here, I'm going to go through them separately later on. Then on the layout over here, if you were to hover here, as you can see, you can define how groups on objects resize the canvas. So I gave like responsible resize over here, so it's going to be more responsive depending on where I put the design on. Then you have the opacity to 100% over here. You have the blend mode to normal. You have the same radius for all corners. You have the different radius for each corner. If I were to select this, I can manually change the radius for each corner. Then I have the fill color over here where I can change the color as I like. And as you can see, it updates in real time as well. Like I'm dragging right now, and now you have the solid color over here. You have the linear gradient, you have the like radial gradient and angular gradient, but I'm going to go through like the gradient colors and how you can create gradients on a separate lesson. Then you have the border. This basically is the stroke for the outer line. So if I were to select this, like select, as you can see, if I were to zoom in now, I'm going to hold on Control and Alter and zoom in. And as you can see, once I zoomed in, you will see that black corner. Now if I were to press Shift 1, nothing happens. If I were to press Control 1, it's going to zoom it 100%, as you can see. And if I were to hold down like middle mouse button and drag it, as you can see, I can drag the canvas, the whiteboard here, not the object. I'm not dragging the object, I'm just dragging the whiteboard. Now let me go ahead and select this again. Let me go ahead and erase the border over here to 0% transparency. There you go. Now you have several options here for the border. So to show you, I'm going to go ahead and select the border again, fill it up, and then change the size to, let's say, 5. Now the border is, you can see the border, but let me like select it 30 so that it's much more easier for you to visualize. Now you have several options here. As you can see, inner stroke, you have outer strokes. If I were to select this, the border is now on the outer stroke. And this is the middle stroke, so the border is going to be in the middle. Then you have the round tip. So if I were to select this, nothing happens, as you can see. If I were to select the projecting cape, nothing happens as well, because this will basically round off any ends which are not connected with each other. Then you have the meter join, you have the round join, it will round up the joint parts. There you go. Then you have the bevel join, it will bevel up them, creating a sharp angular, instead of a smooth angular curve, it's going to make a sharp curve. And then underneath here, you have effects. So you can select this, you can give an inner shadow, you can give a drop shadow, and you can also give like a background blur to it. So if I were to select it, yeah, the background blur, as you can see, there's an amount slider over here. This will basically make anything in this object transparent and make it into a background blur. So let's say I create a design and then I just create a normal rectangle, and on that rectangle, I applied this blur, like the background blur. It will basically make the entire colored rectangle or square that you created into a transparent or rectangle square, and anything that you can see behind it, like, it will be blurred out. Then you have mark for export. So if I were to select mark for export, for example, I can mark this because this is ready for exporting. And as I previously mentioned in another, like in our previous lesson, you can go to file over here, then underneath explore over here, then you can like select selected over here. So if I were to deselect that, I can go to export over here. I can go to batch. There you go. And I can have a PNG format for this as well. And this also helps because like for example, let's say you're collaborating and working with several other people on one project in Adobe XD, which is shared amongst all the users or all the people that you shared it with. So once they select an object, they can go down at this section over here and they can see that it is marked for export. So they know that the design or the object that you created is now ready for an export. Now let's move on back to our left side over here. We have the Ellipse tool. So you can create circles, as you can see, but these are not technically circles. These are just ovals or any other kind. So if, in order for you to like create a perfect circle, you need to hold on Shift. First hold on Shift, then left click and drag, and then you will have your perfect circle. Then we have the rectangle tool or the polygon tool. So the polygon tool basically will create any kind of polygon over here, and you will have several like options as well. But before that, let me go to Ellipse tool over here. Let me go ahead and first delete some of the objects over here. So because we do not need them anymore. So I went ahead and deleted them. Or let me just do one thing. Let me just move them away. Let me just move them away. Let me just select all of this. Let me just move them away. There you go. Now the circle over here, as you can see, there are no side options or anything else on this circle. So I'm going to go ahead and select the triangle over here. As you can see, this is the curve part and this is the count part, I guess. So if I were to increase or decrease this, as you can see, you can go ahead and create unique designs like this one as well. And curve it up as well. Now, going back to the circle over here, as you can see, there are no other specific options, but you can go and select, let's say, repeat grid. So ungroup grid, it basically groups up objects together. Then you have the blending mode, and you can like change the blending mode however you want over here. But if I were to right click on it, as you can see, I can copy it, paste it, lock it, hide it, group it. Or if I were to select other objects together and select the group, it will group them together. Then you have online stroke, you have outline stroke over here where you can outline or create a border around the object. Then you have make component, add colors to assets, mark for export, bring to front, bring to forward, select back, send backward, and send to back. So you have several options there as well. Then we have the line tool over here. So if I were to like use the line tool like this, I can go ahead and create a line. If I were to use the selection tool, select the line tool over here, for example. You will have not that much options over here, but you can go ahead and right click on it. You can create like components. It's basically the same as this panel over here on the right. Then you have the pen tool. So the pen tool is basically you can go ahead, create your own little world. So you can go ahead, create, let's say, the pen tool like this, and you can go ahead, like use the selection tool like this on a pen stroke line to add in more segments like this. As you can see, I'll go ahead, delete. Let me undo this by pressing Ctrl Z. Let me go ahead and first select this line over here. So once this line is selected, I can go ahead and delete it by selecting delete button over there. Now once I select this pen tool segment now, as you can see, I can move it around without adding any more extra shapes. I can use the pen tool. I can then go ahead, create new lines, but I won't be able to like make any lines existing from this line over here. Then you have the text tool where you can use text, write in text, and design text basically. But I'm going to go ahead and show you in a later class on how you can add text and design them as well. Then you have the artboard tool over here. So if I were to select this and create this, there you go. It's now inside the artboard. And as you can see, anything outside the artboard is not visible. Then you have the zoom button over here, so I can go ahead and zoom in how much I like. I can also press and hold on Alter, which will give me a negative zoom effect. So if I were to click on it and zoom out and zoom in again, as you can see, you can only see this because this is inside the artboard. You can also select the artboard over here, double click on it, rename it, or you can go ahead and select this and delete it. But if you were to delete it, everything inside that artboard will be deleted as well. And then over here in this panel over here, you have the colors. So you can go ahead, use the colors as you see fit. So under here, you have the colors panel over here, and you have the character styles, components, and videos as well, which you can use. But these are the libraries, are the document assets. So anything that you have here, which are videos, and anything that you have imported will also show up over here as well with your ones, alongside your ones. Now, underneath edit over here, you'll have some right click options. So let me go ahead and first create our rectangle over here. Now, once this rectangle is selected, I can go to edit over here. And as you can see, you have the paste appearance, duplicate if I were to click on duplicate. And as you can see now, I have two rectangles or two squares. Then you can also have the object, you can lock it, you can hide it. So if you lock it, it won't be able to interact with other animators or any other kind of like UI UX designers. What I meant to say is if you were to lock it, you won't be able to select it anymore. So if you were to lock it, let's say, I can select it, but I cannot interact with it. Like as you can see, I cannot interact with it. Previously the animator and the designer part was just like a joke, if you get it, that is. So if you were to like lock this, collaborate, and like if you're like new and the other collab person is new as well, you won't be, or they won't be able to like select it, and they will be like, how do I do this? It's like that. So anyways, back to our main topic, you can go to object over here, and then you can also unlock it again by pressing Ctrl L. And there will be some times where you won't be able to select locked objects right by like dragging it inside your box and selecting it like that. So you need to go to the layers and then select it, which I will also show you how layers work in a separate lesson. So that will be all for this lesson for the tools and utilities in Adobe XD, and I'll be seeing you in our next one. Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another lesson for Adobe XD for UI UX. And for this lesson, we are going to go through how layers work and how you can do like work on layers. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, we have Adobe XD opened up here. I'm going to go ahead and first let's say create our first like artboard over here. So I'm going to go ahead and select the artboard's resolution to let's say like a desktop resolution over here, as you can see. So our artboard's resolution is 1920 by 1086. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this. I'm going to go let's turn it to this so that we can like see, so that it's more of like a mobile phone instead. So I'm going to go ahead and press like 100% over here, zoom in on the top right over here, and then I'm going to go ahead, go to view over here, go to layers over here. Then as you can see, these layers, and you can see this one, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in as background for now. So the reason why I put this as in background, like for example, let's say you have two pages, okay? One's let's say a sign-in page. I'm just holding down Alter and dragging it. That way it will then create a new artboard over here. So now you have like two, as you can see. Now as the second one, as we have like both the same name over here, the second one over here, the name has a 1 at the end over here because like I copied it, so it came up like that. So let's say this one over here is the login page. So I'm gonna type in login page, background. And the second one over here, I'm going to type in main page background. There you go. Now I'm going to select both of this. There you go. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to lock them. But as you can see, previously we had a lock option, but now we do not have a lock option. So you can go ahead and right click on this and say, also see that there are no lock options. So you need to right click on them and you need to lock them manually. But as you can see, there's still no lock options over here. So how do you now lock them? But before that, let me first explain how layers work. So let's say I create a rectangle over here, right? I created a rectangle. Now, as you can see, it's just a pasteboard over here. Now, if I were to go back, as you can see, these are on top. And if I were to drag it right over here, as you can see, it's the main page background or the login page background. Let me delete this first. So the login page background is over here. If I were to select this, as you can see, this is the artboards and we have the login page background. If I were to select this, I'll have this as a layer inside. So this one, if I were to like click on this, this will be selected. Now, as you can see, there's a share option over here, but we do not need that one. So you can select this and you'll see the rectangle over here. Now, if I were to select, like, let's say create a circle over here, now you will see the ellipse and the rectangle. Now the ellipse is on top of the rectangle on serial wise. And because of that, the ellipse shows before that. To further explain it to you, I will go ahead and change the color for both of them. I'll give the ellipse a red color, bright red color, and the rectangle over here, let's say a bright cyan color over here, or a very bright sky blue or cyan color. Let's keep it like this. Okay. Now, if I were to go to, let's say, select this one, then login page background, as you can see, this is the one that came up over here. So I can go ahead and drag the rectangle on top of the ellipse over here. And once I drag it, it will then go on top of the ellipse like that. So that's basically the gist of how layers work in Adobe XD. So if I were to select the login page background over here, we will go to the artboards over here. The layers section, the artboard section will come up on top over here. And the rectangle will show up over here and the circle will show up over here. But if I, like, let's say you have the artboard over here, multiple artboards, it will show the multiple artboards if you have nothing selected, that is. But if you were to select like one artboard, let's say I select this one artboard, there you go, then the layers will show up for what's within that artboard and what you have inside those layers. But if you were to click on any whiteboard in any empty space over here, then it's only going to show you the artboards over here, the multiple artboards that you have. Now, let's say you put, let's say I create another artboard over here. Okay, now let's put this artboard, let's say on top of this one. Now, if I were to put that behind that one, as you can see, I can still see the artboard. I can still select the artboard, but that will not show up because it's below the first artboard over here. So layers in this segment over here, serial wise, what's on top will stay on top visually, literally. And what's at the bottom, like for example this, what's at the bottom, the ellipse at the bottom, so the ellipse is below this cyan square box over here. So that's basically what layers are like and how layers work and how you can navigate through the layers as well. So click on any artboard over here, any empty space on the artboard, you'll see the objects inside those layer, and whatever objects are on top will stay on top, and you'll also view them as they are on top as well. And if you were to select any free space over here, you'll see the layers of the artboards over here as well. What's on top, same principle applies. And that's basically it for how layers work for this lesson. And I'll be seeing you in the next one. So thank you and goodbye. Welcome everybody and welcome to another lesson for Adobe XD for UI UX. And for this lesson, we will see how you can add and design text in Adobe XD. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, as you can see over here, I opened up a new document. I renamed it How to Add and Design Text as per our lesson. And I created a 1920 by 1080 like desktop size, and then made it into portrait. But before that, let me go ahead and rename our artboard over here, or our frame over here. Let's say frame 1. let me just go with that. Now we have frame 1 over here, but we want to go ahead use the text tool. So you can go ahead and use the text tool from here. And then I'm going to type in, let's say, Adobe XD, all in capital. Then I'm going to use the selection tool and select this. As you can see, I can scale it up like this. So I can go ahead, scale it like up like this, and I can move it around like this as well. So as you can see, there are no other options using the selection tool. What I can do is only scale it up and rotate it like this. And again, with the rotation, I can hold on shift to rotate it at a 15-degree angle. So as you can see, there is a transform option over here. If I were to scale it down, it will also scale that one down as well. And it's uniformly locked. So let me just put this scale ratio over here to 1000. But as you can see, I cannot change it. Now I have the layout over here, responsive resize to auto. If I were to give in manual, I can have a fixed height and a fixed width as well. But I just want to keep it manual, the layout. And on the right side here, you can see the alignment tools, as you can see over here. So I'm going to align it at the middle over here so that we can have access to everything and we can also view it perfectly as well. Now I'm going to give the view over here to 100% so that we focus on this one. So now once I select this text over here, I can go ahead, change the text to whatever I want over here. As you can see, these are all the texts that you see over here. All the text that you have, you can find it over here. Now, I have also the Instagram font downloaded. So let me just show you how it is. Now, if you were to select the selection tool and double click on your text, you will be able to edit your text from wherever you want. So I'm going to type in capital I, then all small caps, Instagram, and you will have this Instagram tab, like Instagram logo type text, as you can see. Now, here you have the text font, so you can download any text font from any website on your device, and that will also be updated here as well. So I have downloaded Instagram from here, and so I can go ahead and do that. I can resize it from over here, so let's give it 150, so it will resize our text accordingly. Then you have the regular here, so according to your font, you'll have bold, you'll have other stuff. So let me go for this, not this one. Let me go for, let's say, Gigi over here. As you can see, it's different as well. Let me go for Game of Squids. As you can see, this is different also. Let me go for this one as well. As you can see, this is also normal. Freestyle script is also normal. Let's go for something very, very like normal. So this one as well. Let's go for Arial. As you can see, Arial, there you go. This is the standard for any kind of document, any kind of text online. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, and under here you have the regular, you have the narrow. As you can see, it narrowed down your letters. Then you have italic. It will make your fonts italic style. You have narrow italic as well. You have bold, you have narrow bold. You have bold italic as well. You have narrow bold italic as well. You have and you have black, which is basically like a bigger version of like bold. I'm going to recenter it again. There you go. Then you have other options over here. You can all make it all capitals, as you can see over here. If you want, you can make it all small. You can make it the font capital only. You can make everything like to the uppercase power. So if I were to, let's say, select this and select this, it will make everything uppercase like you see in mathematics, right? So you can also lowercase it like that. You can also make everything like underlined like this as well. And then you can also make a middle cross section like that as well. Then you have the blend mode over here where you can like change the blend mode. You can have a fill color to it. So let me give like a black fill color. There you go. Let me change the border color to, let's say, yellow, bright yellow. Now you have RGB here. You have HSB here as well. And in the plus section over here, you can add in like presets of colors. Now if I were to give the border on like this, as you can see, it's not that much visible. Let me go for something cyan. That is not visible as well. Let me go for red. And as you can see, that's somewhat visible. I can change the size of it to, let's say, 10. There you go. Now that's much more visible, but 10 is too much. Let me go with 3. Yeah, that looks okay. So that way you can also give like a stroke, a border to it as well. You can also have it like rounded border. You can also have it like a protecting cap. You can also have like rounded corners. So if I were to zoom in over here, you can see the difference. And you have the bevel corners as well, as you can see. So those are some ways you can add in those variations of designs or effects. And you have other effects here as well. You have inner shadows. So as you can see, if I were to like, let's say give it white color, there you go. The inner shadows, then you have the color over here. So I have it like very transparent. If I were to increase the transparency like this, you can see the inner shadow right now, as you can see. If I were to increase the Y value to 10 over here, as you can see, it increased that Y value to 10. And you have the blur amount as well. This is the Y position, this is the X position. So let me give it like 2 or 3. Also give this 3. It changed the direction of the shadow. And let me change it to, let's say, something of yellow over here. Give it like a highlight. So you can give an inner shadow like that. You can also give in like a drop shadow. So if I were to increase, let's say the blur amount to, let's say, 1 over here, as you can see, you have the drop shadow like that. Now let me increase our value of transparency to this one. Let me give the Y value a little bit more. Let me give it 10. There you go. Let me give also the X for 10. There you go. Now you have a very good, wonderful drop shadow, as you can see over here. Then you have background blur as well. This like you can add the background blur to make everything in the background blurry. So what I mean is, let me try to make a circle over here. There you go. Change the color of the circle to, let's say, green. And go to view over here, go to layers. As you can see, we already have the layers. So let me click on this. We have the Instagram and the eclipse here. Let me change the eclipse in the background. But as you can see, the background gets blurred. The effect for Instagram, it is blurring out that. So let me increase it like from here to here. It gives a cool like neon effect or anything like that. Now, as you can see, it's giving that blur. So now let me click on Instagram, go to the blur amount over here. Let me decrease the blur amount to like that. And now, as you can see, where like the blur amount here is changing, right? So let me give it like 1, as 1 is perfect. Now you can also change the brightness for it as well, the blur brightness. Let me just keep it like a low brightness so that Instagram is shown over here. Now it's at -50, so if I were to put it at 0, it will be neutral. Okay, and mark as export I already explained before. So there you go. That's the basic tools and utilities for some text over here. You have the insert URL here, so any kind of custom text that you can add, you can insert the URL here so that it can also like show it from like taking from that URL. Now let's go with some designing part for our text over here. So let me go ahead and select everything. Let me delete it. Let me just put another text and let me put an Adobe XD. Now this is in this text because we already have edited our text on how it looks like, right? Arial black. So let me go for like regular Arial over here. And let me remove the border. Let me just change the fill to like, the fill is okay. We do not need to like change the fill that much. Let's just keep it at black. Now, repeat grid is basically grouping everything up together. As you say, ungroup grid. So let's go ahead and ungroup that because we do not have anything else. Now we have the blend mode over here we can use. We can also use other things as well. So you go drop shadows as well to create like unique effects on drop shadows. So you can right click on this and you can make this a component. So as you can see, this is a component now, but we will work on components later on. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo it. Now you can go ahead, you can copy the SVG code, but we do not need that. You can add color to assets as well, but let me go to right click, then add character style to assets as well. Then if I were to go over here, as you can see, there's no change whatsoever. So you also have the center align middle as well over here, as you can see. You also have auto width, you also have auto height, you also have fixed size. So you can also change that accordingly as well. Now, if I were to right click, as you can see, align to pixel grid, you can make it a component. You can lock it, delete it, paste it, copy it, cut it, however you want. So you can also right click on here and do the same things as mentioned before. You can also disable the view for it. You can also log the layer from here as well. You can also mark for export from here as well. Now, let's say you want to add in an effect of a reflection from below. Okay, so what you can do is, let's say I copy this. Okay, I copy this, like we're holding down Alt, I copy this, and then I just basically press Enter to copy that. Or then I'm going to go ahead, move this, and while holding Shift and paste this right over here, so that is directly below this one. Now once that is done, I'm going to select the bottom part and I'm going to change it like this. Now once that is done, you can go ahead and go like use the rectangle tool over here. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool to create a rectangle like this, which basically covers our text over here. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and put it at half size over here, then go ahead and give a background blur. Good, there you go. Now I will change the amount to a few lesser. Now the brightness, few lesser, there you go. And the amount, let's say 1. But that still doesn't fix it, does it? As you can see, let me just put it at 10, for example. As you can see, it's still not working because we have the brightness to less, the opacity to 0%, right? So let me change the opacity to, let's say, 100%. Now, if we were to zoom out, as you can see, it's still not working. Because we have selected the background blur over here and nothing's working. So you can change the amount as you can like. As you can see, nothing's working over here. So I'm just going to cross that. I'm just going to re-enable it. And as you can see, nothing's working again. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select this. We have the fill color over here. So the opacity over to 20%. I can give it like 100% and give the no fill color to it. Give no border to it as well. So as you can see, it's still not working. So I'm going to go ahead and select the rectangle, delete it, and create another rectangle. And make it so that it's like this, and give it a background blur like this. There you go. Select the rectangle over here. We have 30, we have brightness at 15. So I'm going to reduce it to 15. It doesn't look good. 10, it doesn't look good. How about 5? 5 look good. And I'm going to select this rectangle and select this text and press Ctrl G. So as you can see, this grouped up together. So I'm going to rename it reflection. There you go. Then I'm going to select this with the Adobe XD and then group this together. Now, if I were to double click on this or click on the folder icon here, you can see that I grouped them and ungrouped them. I can also do it like this. That way I can manage the layers like this as well. So now I have a basic. Let me go ahead first to select this rectangle and remove the border and the fill. But if I were to remove the fill, as you can see, nothing will happen. Now this is like a reflection to it, but it's kind of different, right? So I'm going to select this Adobe XD over here. There you go. And as you can see, I can only scale it up and scale it down, right? So I cannot like change it however I want. So I can go ahead and select this box if I want to. I can go ahead, descale it like this, increase the scale like this, but nothing will happen, okay? Because that's not an object, it is a text. So you cannot change how it looks like. But if I were to make it into a component, now I can change it however I want, as you can see. So if I were to, on the right side over here, you have different options, as you can see, fill, border. If I were to change the fill to it, as you can see, the border, the opacity for it, and then you have padding, you have stacking as well, vertical stacking as well, but we are going to go ahead and come to that part later on. So I'm going to undo it to back to where it is as a text, because you normally need to make it into a component in order for you to go ahead and, let's say, create something which is more related to animation or animating, that is. But as you can see, our rectangle over here, we have no blur effects right now because sometimes the blur effect is still there. If I were to select on preview here, or the play button over here, as you can see, we still do not have the blur options over here. It sometimes gets like this. So I need to select the fill over here and the border, like get the border over here. I had no fill over here. That's why nothing was working for that one. So you can give like a effect like this. Now, let's say you want this to disappear as it's going. Now, there are several other ways you can do that. You can go to fill over here and you can basically give it a gradient color or gradient way. So I will show you how you can do those like in a different lesson. So that's one way of designing your text. There are also other ways as well where you can just add in transparencies as well. You can mask them as well, but I will teach you those techniques in another lesson. Those are a bit more complex than like basic lessons like this. So those are some very basic tools and uses for like the text, but you do not need like the reflection effect that much, because in UI UX you will find very few websites all around the web, like very few, like comparing to the entire whole internet, how many websites there are. So comparing, it's like a 9:1 ratio, where in the 1 ratio you will find websites where they use text effects like reflections. So it's kind of like a small niche for an effect. So that will be all for this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. So thank you and goodbye. Hello everyone, and welcome to Adobe XD for UI UX. And for this lesson, we will be going to use and learn about how to use grids in Adobe XD. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see here, I have created an artboard, like a desktop size artboard, 1920 by 1080. And in order for you to enable grids, but before enabling grids, you need to know that there are two kinds of grids. So you can, if you go to view here, you can see that show layout grid and show square grid. These two options are available. So let me go to show square grid, and as you can see, we have a grid section over here. So if I were to zoom in, you can see the grid sections over here. Now I can set the rectangle, and I can like create a rectangle like this, and as you can see, it aligns perfectly with our grid. Let me go ahead and remove our border over here and set the fill color to lesser red so that you can see. Now I can go ahead, move this however I want. Now how grid helps is basically grid helps to make to enable you to organize things in a very fashioned way or very organized way. So as you can see over here, if I were to copy this, if I were to paste this over here, each and every single one of these things are aligned perfectly with the grid. And as you can see, you can go ahead, select them, and you can also align them perfectly towards that selection as well. And you can also like enable, these options are available to you right now. So this is add, this is subtract. So if I were to subtract everything from, let's say I selected all of these things and I select this object. Now if I were to select subtract, as you can see, it depends on whatever you are selecting. So I selected this. As you can see, if I were to click on subtract, it will select the first object over here. Then, so if I were to select this, then add shift and then subtract, it will subtract from the second selection. Then you have the intersect. So I can do the intersection, but that does not do anything. So if I were to say, like, let's say intersect these three and give the intersection over these three objects over here will happen. So to further explain, let me go ahead and change the fill colors to each and every one of these objects over here. So I'm going to go ahead and change each and every object over here and then select the opacity to, let's say, 30%. So you'll see the intersection between these three objects is this small 2x4 grid layout object over here. Now if I were to give intersection, as you can see, the 2x4 object then appears like that. So that is another way of using grids to make everything, or like add or subtract everything. Then you also have the other option over here is exclude overlap. So I can go ahead and overlap this over here. So let me first go select this one over here. Let me add in like a 4x4 intersection towards these two. If I were to select these two and select this, it will delete that middle part. Now you have objects, and this is also grouped together. So if I press Ctrl-Shift-G, is going to revert it back to that as well. So you can create some unique designs like this as well. So, and basically grids are basically used to make things look much more neater and cleaner. Now let me go ahead, delete this. Now there is another form of grid which you can use, is if you were to go to grid and hide this square grid, if you were to go to grid and show layout grid. Now layout grid helps you make a layout uniformly. So if I were to select this artboard over here, you can see that underneath the grid layout over here, you have the layout, you have the square as well, you have the layout as well. So once you enable a grid, you can change it from there as well. You can also change the color of the columns here. You can add like 12 columns. So let me give like 10. It will add 10 columns like that uniformly from the back. Now you have the outer width here. So let me give it like 10. It will give the outer width like 10. If I were to give it like 20, it will, and that's the column, not the column. Let me set it back to 10. Let me set the outer width 20. Then you have the outer width, basically the inner width between these two to change. So if I were to give it like 50, now as you can see, it became 50. Now here you have the linked left-right margins. Then you have different margins for each side. If I were to give that, you will have different margins for each side. Now let's say you want to create a design, but you want to have margins as well. So I select this. So let me go ahead, select this. Let's say I give 10 margins on each side. There you go. Now as you can see, if I were to zoom in, we have a margin over here, which is 10 size each. Now the 10 size each is basically, the 10 is for the pixels. So if I were to give it like 50 for this one, 50 for this one, 50 for this one, and 50 for this one, you will see the changes happen live. So this also helps you like use a layout grid and like create objects and shapes. So first in case for using grids, I would suggest you to go to select this layer over here. So use, instead of call like a layout over here, use the square grids first, or use this layout over here, create a margin first. Then after creating a margin, use the rectangle tool over here to create a rectangle that basically makes it into a layout over here. As you can see, it surrounds your entire layout grid over here, then I'm going to basically lock this, having that border in. Then I'll go to, then I'll select this again, the web rectangle over here, or the artboard here. So I can also select that text over on top to select this entire object. And then once that is done, I can go towards the column width over here. As you can see, we have the column width. If I were to give it like 50, we'll have the column width to 50 now. So let me go ahead and change the column width back to 137 over here. You have the outer width here 50 as well. That will also change proportionally to this one. If I were to give this 150, that 50 will change to 36 here. There you go. It auto aligns itself, auto arranges itself, the width and the gutter width and the column width according to what you do or what you put it as an input. Now, the reason why I put the inner rectangle and marked it as locked is because I can go to layout over here, go to square layout over here. There you go. Now the square layout will help me basically align everything much more perfectly and uniformly. So I can go ahead, set this and realign it perfectly over here. There you go. And I can also go to the bottom and realign it perfectly here to the bottom as well. Now there you go. Now I have a very basic margin over here for the border. Then I can lock it again. And now I can use this like as a wireframe. So this is also a part of wireframing. I'm going to like explain or give an example on how you can use wireframing to create a wireframe around your artboard. That's basically having a guide, but I'll go through that in a different lesson. But for this lesson, this grid systems here basically makes you or enables you to have a view to make certain objects, shapes, and designs in a very neat and fashion way. So for example, this is a web design. For example, let's say this is a web design or a desktop design. Now the width over here, the column width, I give like a margin for that. Let's say the bottom margin over here needs to be the taskbar. Okay, for let's say just a desktop design, or let's say for a website design, you want to like only have a neat, or let's say you want to create a blogging website, okay, design, where you only have the blogs in the center, or do your designs for those blogs in the center over here. So a very neat margin over here will help make your website look much more neater, much more cleaner. And you can use the small grids over here. So let's say this segment over here, let's say I create a square over here, right? A rectangle over here. This will have, let's say, your logo. Okay, this here will have your logo inside. Okay, now I can copy this, paste this. Let me copy this and paste this over here. Now this square over here will have the date and time and basically the details of, or let's say the date and time when our blog was updated, or when this blog has been updated for further use. So that's one way of using your grids to basically align every object that you have to create like separate, neat, unique designs. So let's say I create, let's say a circle over here. First create a circle, align it. So now let me go ahead and create a circle over here. Now let me align it perfectly towards the middle of our artboard. Let's say this will have, let's say, your image in, okay? Or you can put it here as well as your image. You can also, because of the grid, you can also scale it down. I'm going to hold down shift to uniformly scale it down so that it matches. Now with this grid, let's say I want this to have like 2 by 2 and also another 2 by 2 here. So I'm going to decrease it 2 by 2 more over here to make it uniform. Now this will have your image here. This can also be a 2 by 2. Let me go ahead, move this rectangle over here. So let me go ahead and select this, move this right over here. If I were to double click on this, I can, as you can see, there's a path over here. Now I can go ahead and select any path over here or add any paths over here and basically edit this shape however I want. So in case of that, you can also press escape to go back. So you can also do that as well. So grid is like this. Like making grids is like this. You can design your entire layout like this, and then you can go ahead, create unique designs on however you want and however you like for everything to be. So that's basically it on how to use grids. So there are two forms of grids, as I mentioned before. I'll select this. You have the square, you have the layout to basically design how your grids look like or how your grids feel like. Now I can go ahead and select this rectangle again over here. As you can see, this is locked. I can go ahead and make it on top as well. Let me realign it or reshape it again. So as you can see, 1, 2, there you go. I'll select this again over here, this rectangle here again, and I'll going to first move it. There's a 1, then 2 over here, then 1 and 2 over here. Now I can go ahead, select this entire web piece over here and change the layout to square again to see how I am doing over here. As you can see, that aligns perfectly like that. I can also put this over here again, having two separate, so make everything look neater and cleaner than before. Now I'm going to go ahead, select our web here over here again, and then select the layout over here to check again how we are at. I'm going to realign it perfectly like that. Go back and select our web over here again, go to our square grid over here again, and then basically select this and see how it is at. So you can go between the two to create perfectly uniformly and create unique designs which look neat and clean, and also say like each elements are separate from each other, because you only want to mix them if you have the intention of mixing them to make a unique object as well. So that's basically it for how to use grids for both the like square type grid and the layout type grid as well. Those are the two grids available here. You can also create your own type of grid layout you're using objects and using the normal square grid over here, but that's called wireframing, and I will teach you that in a separate lesson. That is it for how to use grids, the normal basic default grids here in Adobe XD, and that will be all for this lesson as well. And thank you very much and goodbye. Hello everyone and welcome to Adobe XD for UI UX design. On our previous lesson, we learned on how to use grids. For this lesson, we will learn how you can make wireframes and how wireframes help along with grids to make a unique design layout or a previously made design layout. And I'm going to show you an example where you can basically make like an Instagram layout. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we have our new file over here. So I'm going to go with, let's say, iPhone 14 Pro Max. You can also click down over here to change how, like, which type of phone that you want to make it with. You also have the web version over here. So instead of that, let me go back to home over here. Let me go back to home over here and create, let's say, an iPhone or another file. So you can also drop down and see different forms of, and also Instagram story, Facebook cover, any kind of social media cover, banner here. You can also do that. So let's go for iPhone 14 Pro Max over here. There you go. Now we have our different layout. I'm going to go ahead and select this. As you can see, we have this one over here. Now I'm going to download an Instagram screenshot and show you how you can basically make wireframe. Now, as you can see over here, I have downloaded an image from Pinterest in an Instagram screenshot, like a normal screenshot. So how wireframing works, or what is a wireframe in the first place, if you are confused about that. So wireframing is basically you have a sample, or you need to have a basic idea on how framing works. So I'm going to first go ahead, click on this, and have a square grid layout, or I can also have a layout grid over here, but we do not need that border. But you can also do the layout grid like this. So why I did the layout grid right like this is, for example, let's say I scroll it like this. Okay, now I want the borders to match this. So if I were to, like, let's say the border over here under the layout over here. So I'm going to select our first, I'm going to select this artboard, go to layout over here. We have 4 columns, right? We can work with 4 columns, so you do not need the columns, but we want to have the border or the linked margin over here. and we want it to be, this works perfectly, as you can see over here. Now I'm going to first disable our layout grid over here. So I'm going to disable the grid first and select this. Now, as you can see, it's more than our iPhone 14 Pro Max. So I'm going to first realign it so that it's from the center, from the bottom to the top, because we do not need the time and date over here. We just need the design of the app. So in case for app designs, you do not need to make the borders for the date and time on the space on top. You just need to make the base design. So I'm going to first click on this. I'm going to set the opacity to, let's say, 15%. I'm going to set the opacity to 15% over here so that we can have a base understanding on what to work with. And then I'm going to go ahead and log this layer so that we do not interact with it to make our wireframe grid, that is. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to put the grid on, and I'm going to put the square back on so that we can appropriately place our boxes over here. So I'm going to go to the rectangle box over here, and then I'm going to create rectangle boxes surrounding all the UI elements over here. And what I mean by UI elements, I mean by, let's say, this arrow mark over here that you can see. I'm going to first create a UI element encompassing this arrow, and I'm going to disable the fill color over here so that I can basically manage and create a UI element or design over here. As you can see, it completely encompasses our entire element over here. Now I'm going to go ahead, copy this, select this first, then copy this. There you go. And I'm going to put it under the notification over here. So I'm going to move this a bit right over here. And I'm going to expand it over here. There you go. Now I'm going to do basically the same thing for every single thing over here. So I'm going to first copy this over here for this today. So I'm going to go ahead and move this so that it fills up today over here. There you go. Now, as you can see there, you have two types of elements over here. One is for like two circles over here for if you have multiple accounts for, like liking your story. So I'm going to go ahead and create two types of elements over here. Now, these two types of elements will only be like applicable for coders or developers for an if or not. So if you're not a developer or coder, well, what that basically means is if, let's say, one person likes your story or updated their story, you will get the notification. So only one circle will pop up. But if more than one person were to be interactive with a notification, then you will have this type of element. So how can you create this type of element? So I'm going to go ahead and use create a circle first. And first I'm going to go ahead and make it so that it is the perfect size over here. As you can see, the perfect size over here. Then I'm going to go ahead, create another one over here. Then I'm going to select both of them. Go ahead, select this, and then I'm going to go ahead, select the Eclipse one over here and put this on Eclipse 2 over here. There you go. Now what I'm going to do is basically copy this both two. So I'm going to select both of this. I'm going to copy this and create another over here and increase its size significantly bigger over here. Now I have the Eclipse 4 over here, which I will put on top of Eclipse 5 so that I can see. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase all the borders over here so that I can see them. Now I'm going to go ahead, select this and go ahead and subtract. So I'll have this one now. Then I'm going to enable the border again and basically have this one placed on top of this one like this, as you can see. Now I'll go ahead, erase the borders. There you go. And as you can see, we have this one. I'm going to group this together so that it looks perfectly aligned. And as you can see, it's perfectly aligned like that. Now I'll go ahead, change the fill color to, let's say, red for now, so that you can see that one. And you can basically copy this and paste this like this. There you go. And for the bigger one, it's very simple. You just create a circle, which is as big as this. There you go. That works perfectly. Now, yeah, the border over here, you can give the border to, so you can create another circle and just remove the fill and add a stroke in. That way you can like add the border in. So for example, if I were to copy this, paste this like this and increase the size of it, there you go, remove the fill for it. Basically decrease the size a bit more. There you go, and change the color of the border to, let's say, red. Over here, there you go, and select the inner circle, change the color to red for the border again, and remove the fill color. There you go. So you can make something like that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and group them together and basically do the same thing, copy pasting everything over here. Do the same thing over here, copy pasting everything over here. There you go, aligning it to center onto like to match the top part over here. And you can do basically the same thing over and over again. There you go. Then I can copy this one and place it right over here. There you go. Now, as you can see, we have a nice very wireframe over here for the text panels over here. So I'm going to put it like this at the center and then increase its text size like this over here up until this point. And why I put this up until this point is because, and as you can see, everything needs to be perfectly aligned. So as you can see, this and this boxes over here do not align perfectly. So I will align it perfectly like this. There you go. Same case for the bottom parts over here. I'll align them perfectly. I'll align this text box perfectly with this margin over here. I'm going to select this one and then move it up a bit over here. There you go. And then increase the text size over here. Now you need to make sure that every text boxes are of the similar height and width. In case for the stories over here, you cannot just make it like, for example, this one is much more bigger than this one in case for like the height. So this one is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 boxes, right? So, but this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes only. So I need to expand this to 7, 8, and 9 over here. There you go. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 boxes each. Now you have to do basically the same thing and expand it below. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. But I'm going to go ahead and move it like this and also place it like this over here. So there you go. Now I'm going to basically do the same thing. I'm going to copy this and have a 10 box over here. There you go. Now, you do not need to perfectly align it with the screenshot that you have here over here, but you can align it perfectly. Now, if I were to press Ctrl D after copying and pasting for same time, cancel Ctrl D, nothing happens. As you can see, nothing happens. In other softwares, you'll find Ctrl D to have an effect of copy pasting everything, or copy pasting the same action that you did over and over and again. So I'm going to create a very nice, neat wireframe over here. Now I'm going to select this and move this so that it matches there. Select this and move this on top and move so that it matches there. Same case for this one. I'm going to move this so that it matches our, not this one. I want to group these two together. So I'm going to group them up together, or select the group 3 over here and move them up so that it matches this entire part. Same case for this one. I want to move this so that it groups up over here. And I would want to basically do the same thing over and over again. Now, as you can see, there are different forms and sizes of, in the right side, like you have the follow, you have the images as well. So what to do with that? You can go ahead, create, like, let's say this object over here. So I'll go ahead, copy this and paste this over here. And I'll basically remove it so that it's 2 pixels away from that part, or 1 pixel or 1 box away from that one, and basically copy and paste them over and over again. So I'm going to come back after doing the entire layout over here so that I can show you what I'm trying to do. Now, as you can see, I have already made my artboard over here, and I have basically made everything. So I can go ahead and disable the view for this one so that you can see that now I have, and go ahead, select this artboard first and disable my square grid format over here. Now, as you can see, we now have a wireframe. So I'm going to select all of this, change the fill color to, let's say we give a border color. There you go. Now, once we have a border color given here, let me remove the fill color, as you can see over here. And if I were to select this object over here, let me give the border color so that you see the borders as well for this one. Same case for all of these 3. So I'm going to add in a border color. There you go. So that you see. Now, if I were to compare this, if I were to like go to select this artboard over here, there you go, and go to the layer segment. If I were to select this, double click on that, go to layer segments, and re-enable the view. Now, to explain how this wireframe works, now I have every objects over here. This is basically the wireframe. I'm going to lock everything here and basically use this as a guide to design my entire layout. So I can go to and select, double click on this, select everything over here, change the opacity to, let's say, 15% again. So I'm going to select 15% again over here. Then double clicking on this again, or double clicking on the left side over here icon, and basically turning this one invisible. Now I have a wireframe, as you can see. Now I have everything here. Now I can go ahead and select everything, as you can see. The Eclipse says as well. So I will go ahead and group that. Now the paths over here, as you can see, I have created like separate paths, I guess. I do not need this path, so I can go ahead and delete that, but I do not want to delete that. Let me re-enable that again. So as you can see, we have a lot of things over here that we can work around with. So I'll go ahead and group all of them together so that I can manage them properly and then lock them. Now, once that is locked, now I have a wireframe. Now, what does this wireframe does in each and every box? Like, for example, in Instagram, you have the go back button, which is this one. You have the notifications text inside this one. Then this is today. And the bigger rectangle over here that you see is basically the scroll. So if I were to select this rectangle, as you can see, if I were to go back, or if I were to double click on this, double click on that, if I were to, like, let's say, go over here, hover over here, as you can see, I do not have, I'll just, like, it's better for you to rename what you see over here because it's easier for you. It will become easier for you to, like, differentiate, like, which is which. Like, for example, this rectangle over here. Now, scrolling plane. Now, what I meant by this is this will basically be a scrolling lane. So you can give the layout over here. You can give it manual. So if I were to unlock this, for example, so select this over here. Now you have the manual over here, fixed width, fixed height. You have the transform tools over here, but I do not want that. Let me go to the scrolling plane over here, reveal that, and change the opacity to, let's say, 100%. So let me expand this. So we select the scrolling plane. As you can see, we have the scrolling plane over here, change the opacity to 100%. So that is much more easier for us to view. Now, once this is selected over here, you have the auto and manual part over here, but we do not need that. Under here, you see the stack, enable or disable stack. So here you have the vertical stack, you have the horizontal stack. So under the vertical stack over here, you have this options over here. As you can see, the vertical stack, you can go ahead and change. This is basically the layout, how you can change the layout inside of it. So anything that you put inside of this, you have to select this. As you can see, expand this. Let me expand this, not this one. So let me expand this, group 14 over here. Let me select this. So anything that I put underneath this one. So if I were to select a rectangle and place it right over here, you see a rectangle being made over there. And I can put it underneath over here, or I cannot put it over there as well. So I'll go ahead and delete this rectangle. So anything that I put inside of this and put it underneath, I can change the layout for it. Or I can add another artboard and put it inside there as well if I want to. So you have the blend mode over here, which you can change. For the blend mode, you also have the different radius for each corner. So you can change the corner width as well. But what I'm trying to say is you can make it so that it is a vertical plane over here. Okay, so what I mean by vertical plane, I can go ahead, select this. I then go ahead, select, let's say, a new artboard. I will try to match this one. So I'll teach you what prototyping is, but what I'm trying to say here is basically, let's say I put it right over here. Okay. Now this artboard is basically this artboard. I can rename this artboard to scrolling plane. There you go. And anything inside this artboard over here, or anything inside here, let me go ahead first, expand this, select everything, and press Ctrl-Shift-G to ungroup everything. So as you can see now, I can select this parts over here. If I were to go ahead, select everything here, and basically move them over here. There you go. Now we have our another wireframe, or copy them. Let me copy it. Copying it will make it much more easier for us to use. So there you go. Now we have this segment over here. Now this segment over here, you can also select the artboard as well and expand it much more farther below to add more things or UI designs elements in it. So underneath the scrolling plane over here, you have the scrolling. As you can see here, you can select that to vertical. So what that basically means is if you were to, let's say, select this, expand this much more farther in, and when prototyping. Now what is prototyping? Prototyping is basically means that whatever animations or anything that you do, you can preview them. And let's say you give an interactive button over here, you click on that button and you see some animations of that button after clicking on it. So for example, I'll teach all of this in a later lesson. For example, buttons that shift from light to dark modes, right? For certain apps, themes, or any websites or any kind of UI. So you're interacting with that button and there's some animation and the entire UI changes, right? So it's kind of like that. If I were to add more designs here and add the scrolling, as you can see, the scrolling over here, the vertical scrolling over here. So I can go ahead and change it, and basically in that preview panel, if I were to add more designs here, I can basically use it and scroll. So if I were to select all of this, for example, there you go. Let me first select this one, let's say. Now underneath here, you see that it's under a group. So let me go ahead and ungroup this. There you go. So that I can select like specifics of this. And then let's go ahead and copy them. Okay. Now, as you can see, I copied it, but I would want a grid layout for it, right? But before that, let me go ahead, select this, and underneath the grid, let me go ahead and select the square over here. There you go. Now, once the square is up, let me go ahead and copy them again. There you go. Now I've selected that. Now I do not need the rectangle over here, the scrolling pin rectangle over here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now I'm going to go ahead and select all of this. There you go. And then copy them. What I will do, I'll just make a copy, paste it over here for now, and realign them perfectly like this so that it matches our grid over here. There you go. And as you can see, we have an entire copy version over here. Now I'm going to select everything, change the opacity back to 100% so that I can show you. Then again, delete all of this over here. Now, what this basically means is this will be a scrolling plane over here. So if I were to select this, for example, if I were to go to preview over here, now, as you can see, I can scroll. So that's basically it for like scrolling, the scrolling over here. So what I'm trying to accomplish here to show you here is that you can use this wireframing to add in elements. So like I can add in text now. I can use the text tool, add in text over here. For example, let's just type in ASD right now, and this text will vary, and you can add the design in and add anything in, and then basically remove this box Or you can add this box, make it so that this box will be transparent, but the text inside will be visible. So when prototyping, when previewing, you can see that this box is not there anymore, and you'll see only the text over there. Same case for everything here. Same case for everything in these layouts. So that's basically it for wireframing. That's the main objective for wireframing, is basically creating a general layout, custom layout, instead of like grid layouts that you use to organize things. You make a custom layout using a reference or without using a reference, basically sketching your idea as well on paper or on design as well, or digitally or physically. You can sketch an idea, a layout, then import that inside XD over here, and then use that as a base to create a wireframe, and then start making a design on your own using the grids and using your own custom layout, which is also called a wireframe, to make your unique design basically. So that's basically it for this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Adobe XD for UI UX design. And for this lesson, I'm going to show you on how you can make input fields. Now I have already created some input fields prior, and I'll basically show you on how I created them and how it basically works. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get started. Now, as you can see over here, I have created four artboards over here. Now, each of these artboards have some different, before starting, I'll go ahead and use the grid layout over here for the square layout over here. As you can see, and I have created every one of this, like these are like 3 squares, like horizontally, or I mean vertically wide. So I created first rectangles like this, then I created some text over here. So what I did is, like, for example, you are designing a sign up artboard, right? Sign up. Design on a phone size website, or let's say desktop size website. It's basically, you can just change the orientation and put all of this in. And basically what it is you have this input field over here where you can input the text over here. Now you can go ahead and add a component over here. You can add the default state over here. You can add in another new state over here. So as you can see, this is a new state, and you can basically then change the state 2 over here. So state 2 is, so as you can see, you have the default state, and then you have the state 2, right? So you have different types of options over here. You have different types of options over here. So you have the default state, you have the appearance, you have the borders and everything. On state 2, you also have everything here as well. But I do not want like components right now. So I'm going to undo the components. So now what I'm trying to say is you can go ahead and make this on your own. You just need to make an artboard over here, put in text, align them perfectly. Like, for example, what I did was first create this, then copy it and paste it like this on top of here, and do the same thing here, do the same thing here, uniformly do the same thing here as well. And then what I did is put in another text over here, like already have an account, question mark, then log in. Then I added in another text on top of here. As you can see, this is the login. And I added a text and a box field over here and curved the box edges around it. This will basically be your button for signing up. So what it is basically, I first created this one. As you can see the design here. After the design, now each of these things have different options. So as obviously you can guess that you need to input the name of your account here, the password. You have to confirm the password, confirm the email address, confirm the phone number, and then already do it like that. Now you can also, let's say I copy this. Okay, let's say I copy this and make it, let's say you have the confirmation password and this one, right? You can add a new text box over here. Let me add in a new text box. Let's say a star mark. Now let me type in ABC first. Okay, so I have the ABC over here. Now the fill color over here is different, so I'm going to add put it as red. So I'm going to then edit it, put in a star mark first. Let's say password doesn't match, does not match. There you go. So I'm going to put it right over here, align it towards the right. There you go, put it right over here, and then copy it, put it right over here. There you go. And add in an S over here, add in an S over here. There you go. Passwords do not match. to make it shorter so that it doesn't like it doesn't collide with this one. Now, as you can see, each of this has different like options, different utilities. Now, what it basically means is, let me go ahead and copy this one as well and paste this right over here and change this one's like fill color to, let's say, black. And why I'm giving it black, I'm going to explain it to you in a bit. And the fill color to white over here. There you go. So this is basically a darker theme, like a theme for darker. Now I'm going to select all of these boxes, as you can see over here, and change the fill color to a bit more darker theme over here. There you go. This wasn't selected, so I'm going to select the eyedropper tool here and select this color, and it will basically take in that color. So first, you will have this option over here. So name of your account. So you will have another, like this one is for the passwords don't match, and we'll have another one over here. And I'll copy this one over to this email address part over here. I'll align it to this part, and I'll going to change this one, that email is not valid, or enter a valid email address. There you go. This will be enter a valid email address, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this one again, this one over here, paste it over here, and then add in our copy this email not valid and paste it right over here and align it perfectly like this. So now you have different types of windows. Now there are some separate windows that you must create as well. So you need to copy this, paste this over here. You also need to copy this and paste this over here. Why? Because you need to have different forms here, right? So I'm going to select this and change the credentials. So a star mark. Credentials invalid. And then select all of it and change the color of it, the fill color of it, to red. There you go. And this one as well, a star mark. And then wrong password. Okay. Select all of it, change the fill color to red. There you go. Now you also need to, like, this is in case for both of them getting wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and copy this and paste it right on top of here. There you go. And realign them perfectly over here. There you go. And first of all, select this, delete that, and go ahead and select this and delete this. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this right over here. There you go. So this is in case for getting both the password and the email address or the credentials wrong. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy this one again and copy this one again as well. And in case for this one now, we are going to go ahead for the password only over here. There you go. So this is only for the credentials being invalid. So it's going to be 10 and 10 each. Or 8 and 8 each. There you go. Or 10 each. Let us keep it at 10. 10 seems more standard. I'm going to select this and place it like that using the arrow keys. There you go, 10. And this one as well. I want to keep it at 10, and this one as well. Want to keep it at 10. There you go. Now we have that. This one is in case for only having the credentials invalid. The password is right. And the same case for the top one. I would want to have another one as well here. I would want to have another one here as well. To undo that, I'm going to paste this again and create another one. So here the same. So I'm going to go ahead, delete this, copy the password, and paste it right over here. There you go. Realign it like that. There you go. 10 each, and I would want to make it 10 each. There you go. So this one's the credentials wrong only, and this one will be credential, like the credentials, the wrong password, but we have credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the password over here, copy the wrong password over here, and paste it right over here. There you go. Place it like 10 each. This one also 10 each. And basically copy the name, email address, delete this one, and paste it right over here. There you go. And same case for this one. I will go ahead and delete that and copy this one and paste it right over here. There you go. So now we have different windows, and I'll explain. And this is like the basic layout of different windows over here. So you have the name, account here. You can have like different types of windows as well, like password not strong enough. Like passwords do not match is one part, and you have passwords not strong enough as well. So, and what it basically is, let's start from the beginning. The difference between the two is one's like light themed and what's a dark theme. So to guide through, what I'm trying to say here is, first copy this and paste this right over here, change the fill color to black because we missed this one. Or go ahead, select this and take the fill color over here and select this color. There you go. And paste this right over here, delete that. There you go. So let's say this is the window over here, right? So you put your name here, you put your password here. If you get your name wrong, then you'll have the credentials invalid. If you get both of this wrong, both of this will pop up. If you get your, let's say, name wrong, phone number wrong, or email address wrong, this window will pop up. If you have your password wrong, this window will pop up. So that's basically it for those three, which I created and showed you right now. And if, let's say, you do not have an account, so you need to sign up. So this sign up will go up to this window over here. And as you can see, and as you can guess, you can name of your account, password, confirm password. If they do not match, from here, this window will pop up. You have your email address and phone number. And if your email address is, enter a valid email address. If your email address is not valid, is going to come up with this phone number over here. And for phone number here, you also have that. Now, in case for phone number, you can also have another window, or you can also edit it. So you can also place it like this over here and add in a country code system over there as well. So you can also have that kind of design as well. And it's the same case for the bottom part over here as well. So that's how I created like this entire designs over here. And that's how these designs will work if you prototype them and see and preview them, how they work, that is. So I'll also like come back to this project over here and show you how how you can prototype it later on in our prototyping session. But before that, as I mentioned before, that will only happen like if you get any of these things wrong. So that will be all for this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Hello and welcome to Adobe XD for UI UX. And for this, we are going to learn about how to make micro interactions with animations. So in this lesson, I'll be teaching you some few micro interactions with animations as well. So let's go ahead and get started with our lesson. So here I have opened up a new project. Let me go ahead and rename this project first. I'm going to go here, go to my files over here, and then what I'm going to do is right click on this or left click on this, go to rename, and we'll be doing like how to make micro interactions with animations, right? There you go. Now we have renamed our file, as you can see. So let me go ahead and first create our artboard over here. Let me go ahead, rename or resize this to, let's say, 400 by 400. There you go. Sorry about that. There you go. Now, what I would want to do with this is basically, let's go ahead. First, let's create, let's say, a panel or an interaction where it says we are going to open up something from sliding from the left side to the right side. Okay. So what I would want to do is first go ahead, create a rectangle. Okay. So let me go ahead, create a rectangle. I'll go ahead and resize it so that it fits properly over here. There you go. Now I'm going to place it like this over here. There you go, at the center. Okay. or a little bit over here. Now I would want to open up a grid. So I'm going, instead of rectangle, I'll go back. I'm going to select this or give it a grid panel. So show square grid. There you go. Now the square grid here is at 8. Let me try to keep it at 10 to keep everything uniformly straight. Now I'll place this right over here at 10. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this up over here. Also select this, so yeah, and see if it's properly at 10 or no. So yes, it is at 10. There you go. And I'm going to zoom in over here to see if it's at 10 or no. So now everything is at 10. Now what I would want to do is go to the center. Okay. And create, let's say create, or at the top over here, let me go ahead and create another, or double click on this. There you go. Now I can add a point, right? So what I would want to do is having a point over here. There you go. And having another point over there. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, increase it to over here. And I'm going to increase, I'm going to put in another dot over here, increase this one over here. There you go. And increase this one over here. Now we have like a bar over here, right? So I'm going to go ahead, lock this in. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this in so that we do not interact with it anymore. Now, what I would want to do is go ahead, create, let's say, an arrow. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click, let's say, right at the center over here. Right at the center over there, and also create. Instead of this, I need the pen tool over here. So I'm going to go ahead and select a pen tool over here, put it right at the center over here, and write another one at the center over here. Then I'm going to press escape. Okay, now I'm going to align it so that it's right at the center. But before that, I would want to go ahead, select my web over here. And now instead of like 10 for the box, I'm going to go ahead and select 5. So that I can see the points exactly where they are. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. But before that, I'm going to press Ctrl Z, double click on it so that I can move it uniformly so that I can fill it up. Or move it accordingly to the points over here to make it uniformly the same size. There you go. I'm going to press escape and we'll keep it at 5 for the grid. Now, once that is done, now what I'm trying to do here, so if I were to interact with this, this will open up a left side panel. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, create another window over here. There you go. Now I'll go to prototype over here, select this one, or instead of selecting this one, I'm going to go ahead and select this one, and it will basically go ahead and move it right over here. So that's going to be our interaction over there. So now in this panel over here, I'm going to go ahead, select the path tool. I'm going to go ahead and move this, let's say right about over here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and increase this size over here. There you go. Or double click on it so that I can go ahead and increase this size like this. There you go. Then press escape to finalize it. And I'm going to select this and rotate this 180 degree so that it moves to that part. And I'm going to go ahead and move this right over here. As you can see, we have 2 main window panels over here, but now I'm going to go ahead and add in some colors to it. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. For the fill color, as it's locked, I'm going to first unlock it. As the fill color, let's try for add something like grayish color to it. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead, select this one and add in a color picker tool, use the color picker tool over here and select the grayish color part from that one over here. Now I'll go ahead, select both of this. As you can see, the color is not the same. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and change the color again. There you go. Now the color is same. So now I'm going to go back to prototype over here and select this one. Okay, or select this one over here. And we have our tab, we have transition. Okay, so transition is a normal, normal animation for it. So destination is this one. We have the animation over here. So as you can see, slide up, push left, push right, push up, push down. So we're going to have it slide right. Okay, so now let's go for the preview over here to see. So we're to click on this. As you can see, it's slide right, but we do not need that. We want to keep it to slide left. So let's try for slide left and preview it to see. As you can see, it's slid from the left side to the right side, but we do not need the transition because the transition will transit from this page to this page. What we need is Auto-Animate. Then the destination is our web 2 over here. And instead of ease out, let's go for ease in and ease out. And let's try to see how it looks like now. So if we were to click this now, as you can see, now I have nothing selected as that one. So I'm going to go to prototype over here, select this button over here, go back over here. We have ease in and out as well. So now if we were to go back to preview, now if we were to select this, it dragged out like that. Now if we were to click on this, it dragged out like this. Now we have a smart animation or a micro interaction. So if I were to like zoom in, or if I were to like make it like, as you can see, look at the icon over here. So as you can see, if I were to look at the icon also changes. Now you can make it so that it is like various, like you can make it so that it can work with a lot of things. So I'm going to keep this as it is, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new window over here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this and delete this. So what I'm trying to say is, for example, let me go ahead and select the line tool over here, or select my rectangle tool over here, create a rectangle. Let me align it properly in the center. Now this, let's say I'm going to create a drop down menu. Okay, a drop down menu, let's say for Instagram, let's say on the right you have the drop down menu, right? You click on that, but it doesn't have any kind of animation to it. So let's try to have like an animation for that. So I'm going to go ahead and click this, for example, create a line, let's say. So I'm going to go ahead, change the line like that, have the size of the border to, let's say, 5 over here. There you go. So now that's there. I'm going to go ahead, put it at the center, put it, let's say, over here, then put it, let's say, over here. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead, select this line, and select this line, put it at the center of our artboard. First group it together, then put it at the center, then I'll ungroup it. I'm going to select this one and then press this at the center. Now we have this, right? Now I'm going to go ahead, copy this, paste this right over here. Now I want to have this one's animate. So let's say this is an interaction where you press this. Let me put the size back to 5 over here. There you go. And the corners a bit rounded. And let me select this. Also change the corners a bit rounded to make it look much more refined. There you go. Let me go ahead and delete this and copy this again. Now we have this. Okay. So now let's say you click on this, and this is a micro interaction. With an animation. So let me go ahead and place, or let me go ahead and first put some animations, right? But before that, let me go ahead, go to my web 2 over here, or this is web 4. So I'm going to go ahead and select web 4 over here and add the square grid option over here so that I can see the square grids. Now, as you can see, these are not properly lined up. So let me go ahead and change the square grids over here to something different. So let me set it to, let's say, 8 over here. Now 8 doesn't work perfectly as well, but that's okay. You can align it however you want. I'll just go ahead and like discard that late for now. So let me try to just select this over here, and let me go ahead and double click on it. Just uniformly may place it like, let's say, over here. There you go. And let's say select this one, uniformly place it like over there, as you can see. There you go. Now I would want this one to be shorter and this one to be shorter as well. There you go. Or let me just press and hold on Alt to make it all like shorter like that. There you go. So now we have like a different kind of icon over here, right? You can like, you can design it however you want. For me, it looks fine as it is. Now I'm going to go back to prototype. I'm going to go and first, let's say, select this over here. And I'm going to first go to design over here. I'm going to go ahead, select all of these objects over here, group them up together. And I'm going to also select all of these objects and group these guys up together. Now going back to prototype, I'll select this and I'll put it over there, and I'll select this and I'll put it over here. Now, while selecting this, you have the Auto-Animate over here for the tab. Now I have the Auto-Animate here, ease in and out, as you can see, like that. So let me go ahead, go back to my preview over here. But before that, let me go ahead, go to design, select this, and let me go ahead. First animate. Let me go ahead and select this over here and then animate it. Now if we were to click on this, as you can see, we have ease in and ease out, but that's the ease in and ease out animation. So in order for you to like change the animation, let me go ahead and change it. So let me go ahead and select this. Instead of ease in and ease out, let's try bounce. Let's try bounce for this one as well. And now let's go for preview and see. As you can see, it bounces in, bounces out, but there's no specific animations to it. Now, how do you make it so that it looks well animated? So I'm going to go ahead, select all of this, ungroup them so that this is ungrouped now, as you can see. These are all ungrouped. So if I were to move this, this is ungrouped. If I were to move, ungroup this one as well. So as this is ungrouped, let me go ahead and play this button again. So not this one. I'm going to select this, go to play. Now, if I were to go ahead and click, as you can see, nothing's happening because underneath the prototype, we do not have anything selected, right? I'm going to select this, I'm going to select this, and then move it across over here. Then underneath here, we have tab, Auto-Animate. Then we have tab, we have Auto-Animate. Then instead of bounce, let's go for ease in and out. Okay, for this one as well, let's go for here. Let's go for ease in and out. Let's just try this one and see how it is now. I'm going to go ahead and click on play. Not that one. I'm going to go ahead and select this one, artboard over here. Then if I were to, now as you can see, it's working like that. But this is not the animating properly because after you design it, but what I'm trying to say here is, let me go ahead and show it to you. So let me go ahead and delete this. So let me go ahead and paste this over here. Okay. Now, once this is done, you have to select prototype from over here and then select it, then change it however you want. So if I were to select this one, or if I have to go to design now I have to go and select this and then drag it like that. Now I have to select this and then drag it on top like this. There you go. Right. Now I'll go ahead and select this, then I'll drag it at the center like this. There you go. Now go back to prototype over here, select this one, then I'll drag and drop it like that. Now once I go back to design over here, select my artboard over here, web over here, then I'll go back to play over here. Now if I were to play it, now as you can see, my design is now works perfect. Now it looks perfect as well. You can also make it so that this one over here only creates a cross and the middle one fades away. You can also make it so it is like that. So that's basically it for how to make micro interactions with animations. You can like create any kind of micro interactions, may it be like say a heart shape with circles around it, then the circles fade out, and it doesn't necessarily need to be within 2 artboards. You can create like say 10 artboards with 10 types of animations, and all of those animations play within like a span of 1 second. You can also make it like that, but it like at the end of the day, at the end of like all your work, it depends on your creativity on how you can make that. I've just shown you like a few examples on how you can create it, like very simple examples. Well, I'll be also showing you a lot more complex examples in our class project. So that will be all for this lesson, and this will be end of this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Hello and welcome back to Adobe XD for UI UX design, and for this lesson I'll be teaching you what and explaining you to what color theory is. So color theory plays a huge role in UI UX design. Because as I will go through this lesson, you will understand why I said what I said. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see over here, color theory is a basic fundamental in UI UX design. It basically influences users to perceive emotions. So, but if you can master the principles of color theory, you can use and create designs which are visually engaging for your users. And also these designs can be more meaningful that resonate with those said users and like effectively convey your product's message. So what is color theory? Color theory is a set of rules again and guidelines used by designers to create appealing visual interfaces, as the first interaction of the users with the product is visual. UI designers choose color as the main language for initial communication. So if I were to go through color theory, like understanding colors over here. So you have the Newton's color theory, the physics of color theory, and there are several types of color theories. Like you have primary colors, you have secondary colors, and you have tertiary colors. So as you can see over here, primary colors are like apparent colors, and they cannot be created by combining any other colors. Red, blue, and yellow are the three primary colors that you can find. Secondary colors are formed by combining primary colors, and orange, purple, and green make the three secondary colors. So if you were to combine orange, purple, and green, you will get the three colors. So you have the orange, purple, and green, which are the three secondary colors as well. And tertiary colors are formed when primary colors is mixed with a secondary color. The tertiary colors are magenta, vermilion, violet, teal, amber, and chartreuse. So in digital designs, the RGB, which is the red, green, blue, or the primary color model, is used to mix colors, the value between 0 and 255, is assigned to the web primary colors, where 0 is dark and 255 is bright. RGB is an additive color system where the colors become lighter after mixing them. For example, when red, green, and blue are mixed, the outcome is white color. In case for digital, like digital UI UX design, or any kind of light related, you have like white color if you were to mix red, green, and blue. So further all, there is color harmony in color theory as well. So you need to have a very few basic things noted down. You have to know about the aesthetics, the branding, the usability, the emotions, and the accessibility. So in case for aesthetics, the UI is more attractive and engaging if there is a balanced composition of colors. The branding is basically the visual identity and messaging medium. Okay. So, and the usability is color is like the importance to create a consistent visual language throughout the entire user interface. It makes the design intuitive, and also it makes it easier for users to navigate through the entire interface. Like a very few example is like Instagram, Facebook as well. So as you can see in Instagram, if I were to like talk about Instagram, the user interface of Instagram, how it is designed in case of like the user interface, you'll see that the color is very simple, right? It's either black and white, or it's either black and white, or white and black for the lighter version, and black and red for the black and white for the dark version, and white and black for the light version. It's something similar like that. And emotions. So color can evoke emotions and feelings in a user. Balanced composition helps designers to create specific mood to enhance the user experience. So if I were to talk about like this especially, you will see that Coca-Cola uses red, right? So red encompasses like hope, it encompasses joy, energy. So that's why like Coke has that kind of vibe. And you will also see that Coca-Cola, the company Coca-Cola, also uses these colors, emotions, to convey their message through their marketing system as well, if you have noticed before. So the color harmony works really good with designs, brands, and it also works better if you can use the color harmony to your advantage in your UI designs as well. And the accessibility. So color harmony helps to achieve necessary contrast, improving the accessibility of designs. And the role of color in UX designs is basically the same. So you have emotion, branding, functionality, cultural significance, aesthetics, and hierarchy. A little bit different than the previous one. So emotions over here, different colors evoke different emotions in people. As you can see over here, color psychology. You have the color psychology, which plays part in this color harmony as well. So red, which I said about like Coca-Cola use, it represents excitement, strength, love, and energy. And you have others as well, like orange. You have confidence, success, bravery, sociability. Yellow has its own emotions. Green, blue, pink, purple, brown, black, and white. So as you can see, black and white, as I said, in like for Instagram, formality, dramatic, sophistication, security, clean, simplicity, innocent, and honest. So these two combined together makes it perfect. Like for example, if you were to look at Starbucks, which is green and white, right? So like look at this: nature, healing, freshness, quality, right? And white, clean, simplicity, innocence, and honest. Combine these two, then you'll understand how Starbucks works, how their marketing works, in case for their color, in case for their like marketing. So color plays a very big part in your UI UX design. And then you have examples of color psychology in logo design as well. So this also helps in case for in case with how color works with UI UX design. So if you were to like design, you'll have to go through this. You can just search up online about the color theory, and you will have a lot of forms, a lot of articles. So I would suggest go through every single one of them, even after like what I'm explaining through this. This is just the basics of the basics, but I would recommend you to go online, search if you want to enhance more and improve more on your UI UX design skills. Then color theory, learning color theory is the first thing that you need to do. Or the primary thing that you need to do. But before that, all the other lessons which I've taught, those are basics. Creativity is also a big part. You need to be creative in order to create those designs, but those designs will ultimately fail if you do not know about color theory. So color theory is important in UI UX design, and you need to learn about it. So a few examples are Google over here. So we have blue, yellow, green, and red. So if I were to go back here, blue, yellow, green, and red, you will see that Google is more innovative like that. You have YouTube, right? Red and white. So if you were to go ahead and try to mix that in, you have red and white. You have Amazon, you have McDonald's, you have Walt Disney, you have cultural differences in color as well. So it depends on culture by culture on what you want to do about this color theory as well. But in case for UI UX design, color theory, cultural differences and everything else, that only matters if, let's say, you are doing a UI UX design. Let's say you are doing a UI UX design for your own project, okay, that you want to do the marketing for as well. So you need to know color theory, and you need to convey what kind of product or what kind of thing that you want your audience to know about. And you need to use this color theory in order to convey that message through your UI design, your objective, that is. So if you were to do some a design for someone else, or if you're working for a client, for example, it's better to ask your client on what that product entails, on what he wants or she wants in that product, and what kind of message that they want to convey to their type of audience. So you need to ask them that as well. So if you have those kind of information, and if you have the creativity as well, and combine this with the color theory over here, color harmony, color theory, color balancing, and the types of colors mixing after learning them, combine all of these things together, and you will have a wonderful professional UI UX design at your hand that you can create. So that will be all for color theory for this lesson. These are just the basics of color theory and how color theory works, and how color theory, how you can use color theory to further enhance your work. And that's basically it for all the lessons on describing what color theory is. And thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye. Hello everyone, and welcome to Adobe XD for UI UX design. And for this lesson, we will be going through on how to use color gradients. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we are. I have created a new file, a new document or project over here. I'm going to go ahead and rename it. So this lesson is how to use color gradients, right? So how to use color gradients. There you go. Now, as it is renamed, we're going to start. So at first, I'm going to go to view over here, go to select to layers. We do not specifically need layers, but I'm going to go and select that because it looks much more neater. I'm going to go create an object over here. There you go. And I'm also going to create a circle as well. There you go. A square and a circle. We are going to be working with these two and probably a line later on, but I'll first show you a few gradients and how you can use gradients to optimize and create some uniqueness in your art, and using the text tool as well, how you can optimize and use gradients. So how to first add a gradient to an object. Before that, let me go ahead and deselect the borders over here. Our circle and square are still over here. So I'm going to select our rectangle square over here, go to the fill color over here. And as you can see, you have no gradient options over here. How you can select and add gradients. So over here, you see the solid color. You have to drag it down. Okay, so you can click on it and you'll see linear gradient, radial gradient, and angular gradient. First, let's go ahead and select linear gradient over here. And as you can see, the gradient has been applied. Now you can go ahead and like make it however you want. You can place it however you want. You can also add in a border over here that will also create a gradient border over here. You can also add the gradient points over here or gradient nodes over here as well. So let me go ahead and first make it so that it's uniformly. Let me go to the fill color over here and uniformly selected like from here to here. Now, in case for linear gradient, it's going to be from point A to point B, for example. So we're going to go ahead and work on this. You can also select these nodes and you can also delete them by pressing the delete button. You can also right click, like let's say, for example, I say I created this, right? I can right click on it and I can also delete it from here as well. So now I'll go ahead and change the color for each gradients over here, or you can go ahead and select the nodes over here and then change the colors of however you want, or you can select the nodes over here and change the color however you want. So as you can see, it's if I were to go ahead and select red over here, and I'll go ahead and select this and go ahead and select cyan color over here. Now as you can see, our rectangle over here looks much more nicer with the gradient color over here. So that's how linear gradient color works. You can also add, let's say I'll add a middle point over here, and this middle point color will be in between these two colors. So before that, I'll go ahead and like select this, and let's say I give a yellow color to it. Okay, a bright yellow color to it. Now as you can see, we have a spectrum over here of a few colors. Now I'll go ahead and select this and change the outmost cyan color over here to green. So we have a green color over here, and the middle one, let's go for blue. So now we have an RGB, a red, blue, and green color over here. Now let me go to the circle over here again. If I were to click on this, I drop a tool and click, let's say this color. I'll go ahead and select this color, as you can see. Now I can also select this. I can also go to the gradient color. The previous color we had was red. Then we had cyan, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click cyan again. I'm going to go ahead and delete this color in the middle, or delete this node in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead, select the circle, go ahead, select the eyedropper tool, select the middle part over here. There you go. Now, which is the gray color over here. I'm going to go ahead, create another node over here. And this node, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool and select this color, but we also already have this color in the center. Now I'm going to go ahead selecting the circle. Now I'm going to go for the radial gradient. Now as you can see, the radial gradient has a different kind of node over here. So if I were to, as you can see, if I were to increase or decrease it, it's going to go and change that. I can also increase and decrease the eye, like it can be like this as an eye. You can have an eye effect like that as well. So I'm going to press undo to bring it back. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the center node over here. Let's say I go for a white, so it's going to have this white color. You can also move this gradient color entirely like this as well, so as you can see, and I can also move it like this. Now as you can see, if I were to move this circle, now this circle looks a bit 3D-ish, as you can see. The light drops on here and the shadow part is over here. So you can also have like gradients, and you can use the gradients like this to have a much more refined look to it, a refined color look to it. I can also add in different forms of colors to it. So let's say this color over here is black, and at the end over here it's like a shade, and let's go for something like this. So let's say this is a 3D ball. I have a red light on top, and in the background there's something which is like blue color, and the light of that blue color is having a shade to it. So you can also create unique objects of 3D types like this as well, using the gradient, radial gradient as well. Now there's also another one known as angular gradient. So as you can see, the angular gradient is like this. So you can also go ahead, change the angle as like this. You can also go ahead, change the angle for that one like this as well. So as you can see, we have 3 points in this. If I were to go ahead and delete this, it's going to become like this. And I can also go ahead and create new lines from here. And I can also add gradients like this as well, as you can see. So those are like the basic things that you can do to like have some gradients and so in your objects. So let me go ahead and delete both of this. Let me go ahead and select a like line over here. Let me go for the border color over here. Let me go ahead and add the black color over here. Let me increase the size to, let's say, 10. Okay, or let's give it like 70 for us to see it completely. So now as I have selected the 70 width to it, I can go ahead and change the color to whatever I like. But as you can see, there's no gradient over here on the top. So you cannot have gradient colors on lines like this, but you can have gradient colors on text if you want. So let me go ahead and like type in text. So let me go ahead and type in Adobe XD. There you go. Let me then go ahead and increase its size or scale, as you can see over here. So we have 185. Let's go for 200. There you go. Let me zoom out. Or let me just type in 300 for the size. There you go. And align it towards the center over here. Now underneath the color over here fill, as you can see, there's still no gradient, and in the border there's still no gradient as well. So you can also like right click on it, then you can go ahead and first close this, right click on it, and you can add character size to assets as well. So if I were to click this, if I were to go to window over here, libraries over here, as you can see the character style is over here. I can go ahead and delete that as well, or go ahead, right click on it and delete that as well. But how would you have like gradient type text? It's pretty simple. You can, so the only way you can convert text, like at this moment Adobe XD doesn't have an inbuilt feature to add in a direct gradient towards your text. So what I mean is, like, for example, you want to edit your text as it is right now, you can do so, but the color format for this, you can only change how the color is. You cannot add in a gradient. So you can only edit the text and change its base color as it is. The only way to do so is to just select the text over here, go to object, go to the path over here, then convert to path, or Control 8 to convert it to path. Now, as you see, if I were to ungroup it, or if I were to ungroup it, nothing happens. Now, this is as you can see, this is an object now. This is not a text anymore. So you cannot edit this text, but you can now add in the gradient color. So if I were to go to color over here now, as you can see, now I can add the gradient color to it. If I were to drag it like this over here, zoom out a bit or down a bit like this, there you go. Now I'll just add in few gradient points over here. There you go. Now select each of these points and add in a color to it. Select the fill color over here, select this, or select this one, then select this color and then this. That's how you can now especially like add in the gradient colors right now, or you can just copy from this place and just paste it over here, press enter to apply that color like that. And I'll also add the same color over here as well. There you go. Now for these two color segments over here, I'm going to add in some shades of other colors. So let's say I have red over here, this one as well, red over here. This one, let's go for green color, and this one, let's go for green color. There you go. As you see, we have a nice, wonderful, like gradient, colorful text over here, or so to say, object over here. You cannot now edit the text for this one, but you can go ahead and edit like how it is. Like for example, I've selected this right now. I will go ahead and press shift to select all of this, holding down shift and then dragging and then dragging them like this. And I can press Alter. No, I can't press Alter, so I can double click on it, make it so like this. I can also make it so like this as well. Make it so like this, make it so like this, and change how it looks like, how the design looks like. So there you go. That's how you can basically use gradients at this point with text in Adobe XD. Aside from that, there is no inbuilt gradient option for applying it on text. Now, if I were to select this and change the like gradients, I can also give the radial gradient over here like this. As you can see, I can also give the angular gradient like this as well, as you can see. So you cannot have any other specific like gradients other than this. Let me go ahead and move that outside. Now you can also have like special gradient effects using the gradient. So if I were to like, let's say, use this circle, let me lower the scale of it down a bit, put it at the center. There you go. And increase the scale up a bit again. There you go. Now let's put in a rectangle. Okay, so let me put in a rectangle like this, put it at the center. There you go. And increase its like width like this. There you go. And put this circle, go to view, go to layers over here, put this ellipse tool over the rectangle tool. There you go. Then I'll select the artboard, set the fill color for the artboard to, let's say, black. Okay. Then select this, and then I'm going to change the gradient color for it. So let me go ahead, add in a radial blur to it, or radial gradient to it. Increase it like this, add this one's color to complete white, and this one's color to complete black. There you go. And select this one and change this one's gradient color. So let me go ahead, change this one's gradient color to not radial but linear. There you go. It will be like that, and I'll add in separate colors like this. Let's go for something a bit goldenish color. So a little bit black over here. I'll select black for this one as well, and black for this one as well. Go to the much more golden color like this. Select this one, go to a much more goldenish color like this. There you go. Add the black color like that over there. Add also a black color like this over here. Add more colors. And then use the color picker tool, basically having like different shades of colors, different shades of like gradients over here, black, to give it like glow. Basically you can have it so that it looks like a golden bar in the background. I can also edit it and make it however I want to. So I'll add more nodes to it, more gradient bars to it, to make it look like it has a golden shade to it, more or less. So I'm going to go ahead, change it like that, add more parts to it, change this one's color to like, let's say, this golden shade, and this one's color to this golden shade, and keep on changing colors to it, having given more golden shades to it. There you go. Now as you see, we have a very golden shade color over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and type in XD like this. Put it at the center like this. After putting it at the center, I'll go to Object, go to Path, go to Convert. Then I'm going to give it a radial blur as radial as well. Then I'm going to go ahead and place it like this. Same as before. This one's color, I'm going to go ahead and give it like this shade, for example. But as you can see, that doesn't work. Then this one's color, I'll just give it like white, or I'll just make it so that it has the same amount. I'll just place it like this. There you go. This one's color, I want to put it black, and the front one's color as well to white, but not so white. Let's give it like a little bit shade like this. If I were to put it like this and set it like this, as you can see, it looks more or less like it has a 3D effect to it, right? So you can use the gradient colors like this to create like unique types of effects. There you go. I'll select this one and I'll select the color instead of like black. Let me go for something a bit goldenish like this. There you go. And in this one as well, I'll also select this to be a bit more goldenish as well. A darkish goldenish. So as you can see, this is a good design as well. So you can create like unique gradients like this. Let me remove the border for that. Let me also remove the border for this. Let me also go ahead and I can also add the border if I want to, but I do not. So there you go. That's basically it for how gradients work and how you can use them and utilize them in however you want in case for your designs. And that will be all for this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Hello and welcome back everyone to another lesson for Adobe XD for UI UX design. And for this one, we will be going ahead and learning on how to use mask in Adobe XD. So without further on wasting any more time, let's go ahead and get started with our lesson. So here we are, and I have opened up a new project. So I'm going to go ahead and first change the name of my project to how to mask. How to use mask. There you go. So that we have now renamed our project. Now what I would want to do or show you is how to mask, right? So there are 3 ways to mask. First is to use shapes. So let's go ahead and use or create a shape first. But before that, let me go ahead and import an image to show you how masking works in case for shapes. Now, as you can see here, there are some differences. First, I imported an image and I basically reorientated my artboard here to portrait instead of for landscape. So how to use shapes for masking. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and create a circle shape. There you go. Now, after creating the circle shape, what I will be wanting to do is first select this or select both of this, then go to object over here, then you have mask with shape. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And as you can see, we have this masking. Now, if I were to double click on this, I can rotate this however I want. And in the circle, and if I were to press enter, as you can see, nothing happens. But if I were to go ahead and undo and press escape, that will happen. So if I were to move this, press escape, I can go ahead and move this however I want and then move this however I want. So let's say you want to create a profile picture or a CV or like a credit professional, or let's say a profile design for, let's say, a blogging website. So I can use this as a masking tool and basically have this like this and make this into a component. And basically what that component will do is basically change that masking, and basically anything that you upload as an image onto that website, you can go ahead and drag it and drop it there and crop it like this. It's not technically cropping, it's just placing this like this anywhere you want and crop it, and then you can set it as you want and then press escape, and then basically you're setting it like that. Now you can have these shapes for anything that you can want. You can have it like, let's say, a triangle now. Okay, let's create a triangle. Okay, get a uniform triangle. Let me rotate it like this, for example. There you go. Now if I were to place it like this, if I were to select all of this and again go to object, mask with shape, I can go ahead and create a unique mask shape like this. Double click again and then rotate it however I would want it. And I can press escape and press escape again, and there you go. I can mask like 2 layers at the same time like this, and basically I can copy this if I want to. I can move this if I want to like this, place it like this over here. Again, rotate it like this, making it uniformly like this, and then I can go ahead and basically, let's say, delete this and delete that as well. But instead of that, you can also do another thing. Another way to mask is, let me go ahead and let's say, go to object over here, or go undo everything, which I've done. Let me go ahead and undo. Okay. So as you can see, it's like that, right? So let me go ahead and create what? Create, let's say, create this. There you go. Basically copy this. There you go. Place it under here. then rotate it, let's say 90 degrees, and place it right at the center like this. There you go. Or rotate it, let's say 45 degrees instead of 90 degrees. That also doesn't work. How about 50 degrees? Nothing works. How about 70 degrees? Still too much. 65 degrees. I think it's 60 degrees. Okay, yeah, 60 degrees is the perfect shape like this. Then what I'm going to do is copy another one and give it -60 now. So -60 degrees. There you go. Then place it like that over here uniformly. And then basically, let me move this photo away. Basically copy this, paste this on top like this, and then rotate it 180 degrees. As you can see, everything will be rotated 180 degrees. So it's best if you select all of this and rotate it like this. Then basically set it like this over here uniformly. Then I'll just group them up together by pressing Ctrl G. There you go. Now I'll move the pick again to the center, and I'll move all of this towards the center. There you go. And then I'll move it down below because we need our characters image, right? So we need our characters image. Let me place it like this. And then I'll select all of this, and then I'll go to object, and as you can see, mask with shape is not there. So I will deselect it. I will go to object over here. And as you can see, mask with setup doesn't work again. So I'm going to press Ctrl Shift G again to unmask everything, select all of this, and then go to object, mask with shape. As you can see, nothing happened as well. So there's also another way that you can like mask these shapes together is basically delete. Let me go ahead and delete all of this. Okay, let me place this and then go ahead, select everything, go to object, mask with shape. There you go, right? Now I'll copy this. Now I'll rotate this. Okay, I'll rotate this. Let's say -60 degrees. There you go. I'll paste this right over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, then I'm going to go ahead and rotate this. There you go. Then I'm going to place it right over here. There you go. Once that's done, I'm going to press escape, and there you go. I have it especially like that. So you can do the same thing over and over again. I'll rotate this like this over here. I'll place it like right over here. Now double click on it. I'm going to then rotate this image by selecting it and rotating it like this. There you go. And placing it right over here. Then I'm going to press escape. There you go. It looks much more better now. So I'm going to select all of it and press Ctrl G to group them up together. And as you see, we have a very nice design over here. So I can go ahead and place it like this over my screen over here. So you can create unique style masking like this if you want to. So I can go ahead, let's say select this, go to the fill, and let's say select something, let's say the sky color over here. There you go. The color theory that we looked at, having like similar color, complementary colors which go well with it. So let me go ahead and select the text. Let's say this person's name is, let's say, Jonathan Smith, for example. So I'm going to go ahead, change the font size to, let's say, 70. There you go. The name will be here. I'm going to place it on the right side over here. I'm going to place it like, let's say, right over here. Now I want to add some guidelines to it. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to go for a grid layout over here. So I would want to have this grid to have like columns to be, let's say, only one column. Let's say I only have one column here. And the grid width, we do not need that. The column width, and we have the borders over here. Instead of 140, let's give for 100. Still too less. Let's give like 60. There you go. That looks perfect. So I'm going to place it like this, aligning to our grid, and this one aligning to our grid like this over here. There you go. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove our grid layout. There you go. Now we have a very nice smooth name, and you can put like the name box text over here. You can put like different kinds of design elements like profile. This is a profile picture. This is like the name of that person. You can have like different kinds of like name statutes about biography info, stuff like that, the designs like that. You can also like, let's say, have a gradient color to this. So I can, let's say, go ahead, go to like linear gradient, and as you can see, we have this gradient, right? So I can go ahead and select the bottom part, select it a bit to be darker. Select the top part a bit to be, let's just this cyan dark over here. Select this text. Add in the fill color to be totally black or totally white as well, depending on how you want it. And select each and everything over here and select a white border to it. But as you see, there's no white border to it, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and select this. The white border of it, let me try to give it like a 10 stroke. As you see, nothing happens for this 10 stroke. So I can go ahead, add in a border again. As you see, there's no stroke to it, but there is a stroke, but it's not that much strong. Okay. And as you can see, nothing's happening, right? So you cannot have that border, but you need to set that border beforehand in order to like use that border in, or you can also use the pen tool over here or the line tool to create like separate borders of your own manually. You can do that as well. So you can also change the like text name or text like font style variation as you like. So you can also have it like that, but that's not very much readable, right? So let's try for stencil. There you go. Stencil works very good. Let me go with, let's say 50 instead of 70. 70 is too much. Yes, 50 looks standard for this style. So I'm going to place it like there. And instead of like that color, let me go with something which matches the color over here. So I can go ahead and edit it however I want. See, that looks perfect. Or I can also take a color like here for from the beard, like black also works perfect. Or I can also take it like from the teeth over here if I want to. But that doesn't look that much good. Let me go with the skin color, nothing. Let me go with the hair dark color, nothing. I can also go with this color, which also looks perfect as well, or a bit more lighter. There you go. Johnson Smith, you can have the, let's say, the age over here. So let me go, let's say 32. That's the age. Maybe we align that in. And this one will be 45 instead of 50. There you go, this one. Okay, and you can go ahead and create your own design like this. So you can have masking like that. You can also have, let's say, a masking for the background as well. So let me go ahead and create, let's say, a rectangle over here. There you go. And send this rectangle to back. There you go. And I can also make sure that, let's say, I have a background. Okay, an image, and I use that image and use that image basically to have, let's say, mask that image, like how I did masking with this image over here with the shapes over here to do so. So you can do that as well to create unique designs as well. So those are some of the ways that you can do masking. The first one I said is the shape one. The second one is to create multiple shapes and share your masking for the image across those shapes. And the third one is basically combining your masking design layer type design with a background with some like texts and other designs or elements as well. And now this is just like standard design which I've showed you. You can use this design for any kind of like website or any kind of like layout as you desire it to be. So that will be all for this lesson for masking, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Hello everyone and welcome back to Adobe XD for UI UX design, and for this lesson I'll be showing you what prototyping is. Well, previously I've showed you a few examples of previews where you have, like for example in the microtransactions or in the auto animation class, I showed you how those auto animations worked and how you could interact with them. That is basically a part of prototyping, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what prototyping is in itself in this lesson. So let's go ahead and get started with our lesson. So as we are here in this lesson, I'm going to go ahead and first rename my artboard over here to 1. Then I'm going to go ahead and create another artboard over here. This is going to be renamed as 2. Now let me go ahead and select a box over here, create a box, a rectangle box over here. And I do not need to create this. I'll go ahead and place it at the center over here. And then I'm going to go ahead and create the second box over here. And then I'm going to basically go to prototype over here. So you can do prototyping from over here. Now I will go to select this. This will be on tab. Interactions, or I'm going to go ahead and select this and go to select this. This is basically what prototyping in itself is. In our previous lessons, I've showed you this. Now, there's a plus option over here where I can go ahead and add like new settings as well from here. Now I can go ahead and like select any one of this. I can also select another one. So I can have like 2 types of like prototypes are two types of animations over here. So I can go ahead and select this. There's a transition part, right? So I can go ahead and select that as well. So I can have two transitions, or I can have one transitions, or I can have three transitions as well. So I'll go ahead and delete all of those transitions. But before that, let me go ahead and first select, let's say this one to this one over here. So I'll go ahead and drag this outside. Okay, I've showed you this before, right? So what this is basically doing is, now if I were to go to preview over here, so that, as you can see, there's a desktop preview over here. You also have a mobile preview over here. If I were to preview on device, as you can see, to prevent, like if you're on iPhone, you need the app for this to preview this on your app. So if we were to go on desktop, if I were to tap this, as you can see, this comes and appears. Now, why does this come and appear first? Because I only did the transitions. I can do the auto animation over here, ease out or ease in and out, or I can also give like the bounce over here. Now, if I were to play it and click on it, it will bounce like that. But I do not want that. What I would want is to basically go over here first, go to the design over here, change its color. Let's say red over here. Now select this, also change its color to red over here. Now if I were to go to preview over here, if I were to click, now as you can see, it comes up, right? Now the prototyping here doesn't work that much because I did not give it. So if I were to change my opacity over here, now to click on play, now if I were to click here, now nothing happens as well. Now I'm going to press undo or delete everything to show you what prototype in much more depth detail. So I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle first, but before that I'm going to go ahead and create a box over here first. Now change the rectangle color to, let's say, red over here. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and place it at the center. Now go ahead and create another one over here. I'll zoom out so that it fits. Now I'll go to prototype over here. Now go ahead and move this over here. Now I have tap Auto-Animate to artboard 2. We have bounce and the duration, right? So now after this is active, I'm going to go ahead, place this outside over here, and then change its opacity to, let's say, 0%. So what it is basically doing is, if I go to preview over here and play it, if I were to click on it, as you see, it bounced from the left to right, because I dragged it outside left, right? So when transiting in, it will bounce back inside. Now if I were to, like, let's say, go to prototype here or go to design over here, as you can see, there's no artboard. Underneath artboard 1, you have the rectangle 1 over here. Now if I were to drag this inside in the center over here, then move it upwards like this over here. Now if I were to play it, as you see, it will come from the upward side, right? So that's basically what prototyping is. You're mixing and matching, say, utilities and stuff like that to have it like this. So you have the tap trigger over here for that, automate, bounce, and you also have the action button over here. So the action button over here, there are several options: audio playback, speech playback, and you can have an audio. So once I click on play, if I were to tap on it, so if I were to tap on it, it will auto animate that, and it will also have another action to it, so an audio playback to it. So you can also add audio in. So as it bounces back in, you can have, like, let's say, a swoosh audio effect to it. So what that will do is, basically, once I go to preview over here, I click on it, and then it will have that swoosh audio at the same time when the transition here is basically bouncing inside. So that's basically it for prototyping. All the previous lessons, I have showed you some examples on what prototyping is. If you follow back to our previous lessons and see everything which I did under prototyping to show you how our project looks like, or what's the byproduct of what we were doing during the lesson, and then the output, then you'll understand prototyping much more better. Now, there's also another way of doing prototyping, which is making components and using those components. So what I mean is, basically, so first let me go ahead and create an artboard. Let me set it to, let's say, 1000 by 1000. Okay. So let me go for 1000 by 1000 over here. There you go. Now let's say we create a variable button. Okay. So what a variable button is, basically. So I'll go ahead and first create a rectangle over here. There you go. I'll set it so that the width is 300. There you go. And the height is, no, not 300, 150. There you go. And the height is, let's say, 100. Okay. So I guess 100 works. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce this, not 100. Let me go for the width to be 200 instead of 100. There you go. We have this, right? Now let me go ahead, change the fill to this color. I'll go ahead and create a circle over here. Place this circle at the center over here. There you go. Now let me go ahead and make this, I group this up together and create this into a component. So how do you create this into a component? You can create this into a component like this. So if I were to drag and create another one, you will see component 1 to component 1 2. Now if I were to go to prototype over here, I can go ahead and select this and move this over here. So now these components have mixed together. Okay. So what does that mean? If I were to go ahead and select this, for example, go to design over here, go ahead and select this and move this over here. 12 each, it was 12 each. There you go. Now I have this component, right? So now I'm basically having these two components over here. So this is a default state. This is a default state over here. And this is also another state over here. So it's like this. Let me go ahead and move this on top. There you go. So component 1 and component 2, this is a variable, and you see that it is different. So now if I were to go back to prototype, now we have this, right? Now if I were to tap this, the action will be to scroll to, but we don't want the scroll to, we need the auto animate. So we need to auto animate this to this part over here. There you go. Now we have the auto animate to this part over here. Or I'll go ahead and delete that. Let me go ahead and undo this. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and select this. But before that, let me go ahead and select this and move this over here. And there you go. Now go to prototype again, select this button over here, and this will go back over here. Okay, now this will be basically auto animate to choose layer component 1 by 2. There you go. It's now linked with that one. Now it will have bounce and the duration will have that. So now it's an auto component, right? So now what that basically does is, if I were to click this, let me drag it outside. Now if I were to go to view, go to libraries over here, go to components, I have this component, so I can drag and drop this over here and place this at the center. So now it is a component of itself. Now if I were to play it, now if I were to click on this, as you can see, nothing's happening because this is a component, right? So as you can see, this is the default state. You need to apply the default state and the other states as well. So this is the default state, and as you can see, this is the default state. I'll add a new state to it. There you go, state 2. Okay, so this will be my tab state. There you go. I place this. Now let me go ahead and select this. Now this will be the tab state. As you can see, this will be the tab state, and I can go ahead and move this towards this side. There you go. And press enter, escape. There you go. This is the tab state. This is the default state. So this will be the default state, and this will be the tab state. And as you can see, these are two states. This is the main, this is the instance for it. So these are two states over here. So as you can see, there's a blend mode. I'll give it normal blend mode, and this one is a blend mode, a normal blend mode as well. So we both have normal blend modes, and as you can see, the options are different. This one has the designs for it, and this one also has a different forms of, as you can see, there's a layout for this one, but there's no layout for this one as well. So it's going to affect this one. If I were to go back to prototype and select this, I can go ahead and drag it, select this one and drag this. Not there. Let me go ahead and select this, drag this. As you can see, I cannot drag that one over there. So I need to first place this right over here, then go ahead and select this and drag this right over here, as you can see. So I have to scroll, make it go to tab state. There you go. Then transition, no, automate to tab state, bounce, then action. There you go. Now that is complete. I'm going to go ahead, go to design over here, select both of this, move it right over here, then go back to components over here and drag it and drop it here. As you can see, nothing's happening. So I will go back to here. I'll go back to prototype over here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and select this. Now, as you can see, trigger is tap, then auto animate, then tab state will give is and out. Duration is 3, right? Destination is tab state. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and select this as well. Drag this and then choose a state, default state, ease in and out, 3 seconds. There you go. So now it is connected to each other, right? So now I'm going to go ahead, click on play, but nothing's happening inside, right? I'm going to go ahead and cross that. Now I'm going to go ahead and place this component back inside over here. I'm going to go ahead and play this. So if I were to click on this, as you see, nothing's happening as well. So I need to connect this one to this one, right? So I can go ahead and do one thing, is select this, delete that, go to design and place this right here on top of this one. Then I can go ahead and select this and place this right at the center over here to our artboard. If I were to click on play, if I were to click on this, as you can see, nothing's happening, right? Because it is a component. So as you can see, it is a component, right? So there's also another way that you can do the components is, let me go ahead and delete this. It basically works as I showed you before. It's just a preview panel. Sometimes it doesn't show it, but it is working. Sometimes it gets glitched out. So let me go ahead and create a component again. Add a component. Let me go ahead and create a box. There you go. Let me just create another box as well. I do not need to like specifically create a circle. Let me go ahead and place this, let's say, right over here. Okay, now let me go ahead and group this together and create it into a component. Add in the new state over here. There you go. So this will be our default state. This will be our new state. Okay, so we have two components. If we were to go to view, go to layers over here, as you can see, we have like two states over here. This is one state, this is another state, right? So in state number 2, I'm going to go ahead and drag this right over here. Okay, there you go. Press escape. So this is state 2, and we have the default state, as you see. You can also create it like this. Okay, so I'm going to go to prototype now. I'm going to go select this, drag this outside. Okay, or I can go ahead, drag this right in the artboard over here, and then change it from state 1 to state 2, like that. Ease in and out, 3 seconds. There you go. Then go back to design over here, go back to view, go back to libraries, then component 2, and drag it right inside over here into our artboard. There you go, and place it at the center of our artboard. Now I'll go ahead and play it. And if I were to click on it, as you see, it changed, right? As you see, so I can go ahead and change the component here however I like. So I'll go ahead, select state 2 again, go to prototype, select the state 2, drag it outside, then change it back to default state. It's going to tap, ease in, out. There you go. Then go back to component again and drag it and drop it over here. Go back to design, then place it at the center, go to preview again over here. Now if I were to click on it, it's going to move like that. It's going to move like that. So that's also a component, how you can use components. And components will always be saved inside your library, so you can always use these kind of components easily. And then these are also like helpful for prototyping as well. So that's basically how you can create and use components and also use prototyping as well. And that'll be all for this lesson on what prototyping is. You can, as I've mentioned before, you have like the type of transition, you can have the trigger to it, you can have it also at hover. So what hover does is basically inside the play, you saw this component, right? So hover will basically, when I hover my pointer over it without clicking on it, it's going to change. Okay, so to give an example of it, I can go ahead and create a new component, right? So I'll go ahead, let's say create a circle, right? I'll go ahead and create a circle over here at the center. I'm going to go ahead, change the color for it to red. Okay, red, and I'm going to go ahead and create a component of it. So this is the default state, right? I'm going to add in a new state, or hover state, let's say. So I'm going to add in hover state. There you go. And this is the default state. So at the hover state, I'm going to go ahead and change the color to, let's say, this cyan color. Okay. So it's a preset set over here. So as you can see, there are two states over here, hover state and default state. So I'm going to go ahead and carry this component over here, put this, align this at the center of our artboard and play this. So if I now were to hover, as you see, it changed the color, right? So you have the color state. You also have another toggle state as well. So you can toggle it and make it so like that. So components are like that. You can use components like that. And as you see, prototyping is that much easy and simple. You can use components, create components, and these components will be really helpful in prototyping as well. So that's basically it for this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Hello and welcome everyone to Adobe XD for UI UX design, and this will be your class project 1. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is class project 1, and the name of this class project is to make a phone app layout with auto animations and micro interactions. The description of the project is for the students to make a phone app layout which will have a button to change from light to dark theme and vice versa. The students will also have to make input fields for a login screen and also have to add error messages screens as well. So create a phone artboard size of your choosing, design the layout, make components for micro interactions and animations, and then prototype to see if everything works okay or not. The outcome of the project gives students the work experience to build a design layout from scratch and will give the students an in-depth idea on how to create basic designs for any phone app / website point of view for phones. Now this will be a login screen for any kind of social media platform or any kind of website, and the login screen will also have to have a sign up screen as well. So the students will first have to make a login screen, let's say a username password, a username password screen, or your username, email, or phone number with password screen, and the students will also have to have a line that says that if you do not have an account, sign up, and even the sign up page as well. If you have an account, then log in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on creating this design layout. So at first, we're going to go ahead and select our artboard tool, and then I'm going to go with iPhone 14 Pro Max over here. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a login page first. So at first, let's start with a light theme. So let us go first with let's keep it white first. So first we need text. Okay, but before text, I need to have a margin, right? So I'm going to first put a margin in. So what I'm going to do is first go and select the layout over here, and select the square layout over here, and I'm going to set it 20. So as you see, we have a 20 over here, but 20 is too much. Let me go ahead and step in 10 and zoom in to see if everything fits perfectly or not. As you see, the boxes here are fitting perfectly, and over here as well, the boxes are fitting in perfectly. So 10 is okay. Now, as you see at the bottom here, we do not have that quality. We do not have that. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it on top to make it uniformly. Now, why I made it uniform is because I want to keep everything neat and tidy. Now, the phone layout is a bit long because you will have the top bar where you will see the battery charge, the percentage, but we do not want that because as this is for only the design for the app or the website, we do not need to make that design layout. So I'm going to go ahead and first designate a wireframe. So the wireframe will be first having some borders to it. So I'm going to add some borders to it, but before I add borders, let me go ahead and first create a rectangle over here. So I want my borders to be like 4 by 4. Okay, so it's going to be 4 like this, and then I'm going to drag it at the bottom like this. So I'm going to go to the bottom like this. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it so that it goes directly towards the bottom. Zoom out a bit. There you go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on it, then add in a dot to it and another dot to it. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this so that it fits directly towards the right over here. There you go. Now I'm going to move this one a bit towards the left over here and this one over here. There you go. Now I'm going to move this one towards the left over here. There you go. Now the same thing, I'm going to add 2 boxes over here and then drag this one on top drag this one on top 4x4 as I mentioned before, and drag this one over here. This way I'm going to first create a border, a margin, so any kind of design that we make will be within this margin, not outside of this margin. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this towards the exact end of our entire artboard. So as you can see over here, there you go. Now I'm going to also place this right over here. I'm going to again create 2 dots over here and make it so that it reaches like that, 4x4 each. I want to make sure that it reaches like that over there, reaches like this over here, and also reaches like that over here. Now, as you can see, this doesn't quite go that much farther, so I'm going to go ahead and place it right over here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press escape. I'm going to go ahead and select this. I'm going to go ahead and remove the border and add in a fill. Let's go for the black fill over here. But I don't want the black fill to be too much, so I'm going to go ahead and add opacity of 10% to it. So that is barely visible, but we can use that as a margin. There you go. Now that is a perfect margin. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the text tool, but before that, let me go to the artboard over here. First select this rectangle over here, path over here, and then I'm going to lock it. There you go. Now once this is locked, now I'll go ahead and designate some segments to it. So at first I'm going to go ahead, create a rectangle over here, go towards the center. There you go, like that. There you go. Now this will be the top half part of our artboard, and also there will be a bottom half part of our artboard over here. There you go. So we have 2 half parts of our artboard. Now from the center, I'm just making sure that everything is uniform right now. So now let's go ahead and create our text. So email address, there you go. I'm going to realign it towards the left side. I'm going to realign it towards the center. There you go. Then I'm going to copy this and place this right over here. There you go. And then I'm basically going to Control D and place it right over here again. So I want everything to be uniform to each other. There you go. There you go. So one's going to be email address, one's going to be password, and one's going to be confirm password. There you go. And then we will have another one that will be a phone number, right? There you go. So we have all the things that we needed, and now what I'm going to do is basically create boxes. Okay, so I'm going to first select the rectangle tool and select, set this amount, and I'm going to place it like this. There you go. Now basically copy this over here, copy this over here, copy this over here. There you go. Now I'm going to select all of this and move this aside. There you go. Now what I'm going to do is first put the email address anywhere like that, and then realign it like this. I want to realign this email address towards this, then add the password like that, then add this one over here like this. Now as you can see, I want to realign it so that it matches my email address. So I want to align it so that I want to make it so that, like, for example, let me go ahead and first undo everything. There you go. Now move this one aside, and then I'm going to select my rectangle tool again. Before I select the rectangle tool, I want to first select my email address like this and use another rectangle tool to have, so it's 2 boxes, as you can see. two boxes. So I'm going to go ahead, place these two boxes over here, place this rectangle over here, one box each. Like the email address is basically going to be inside that box. So it's going to be one box each. Okay. So it's basically the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and create another one like this. Place this one over here. Then another one like this. Let me go ahead and move this over here. Another one like this. Then also another one like that. And then move this over here. There you go. So it's going to be like this. There you go. Now everything's like centered properly. So I want to put the password right over here. The confirm password right over here. And the phone number right over here. There you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete these rectangles because I do not need that. Now we have our basic structure over here. I'm going to Control G to move them up together. Now we have a very nice, well-rounded interaction boxes over here. Now what I'm going to do is basically create another text line. Now before that, let me go ahead and first select this text line and see. So it's 20, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create another text line, and this one's going to be 15 size. So there you go. 15 is still too much, so I'm going to go ahead and give 10. So what this 10 and what this will be doing is we will be saying already have an account ? Now this is going to go up over here. Okay. Already have an account, but we won't be placing that over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this box, copy this, and this box will be outside of this entire group. Okay, so I'm going to ungroup this again, and I'm going to only group these parts. There you go. There you go. Now you can, there's also another technique that you can use is, for example, let me copy this and show you. So let me go ahead, create this into a component. So this is default state, and we'll have a new state over here. So this will be the typing state. Okay, so typing state. Let me go ahead and rename this. Let's select this, go ahead, state 2. I can't seem to be changing the name of it, but that's okay. So we have state 2 and default state, right? I'll go to state 2 over here. Let me just move this so that I can see the rectangle box over here. So under state 2 over here, I'm going to go ahead, increase it like one size over here, select the rectangle, and I'm going to move it on top over here, and then place it right here in the middle and change the size of it to 10, or size of it to 15. There you go. And then move it like, let's say, right over here. Add in an appearance for a border, a white border to it, because we have a white background to write. So I'm going to set this size to 0.2. Okay, so that we can still have it, and also have a rectangle, another rectangle to it like this, to this email address without a border to it, and then have this one on top of there, and this is that rectangle basically, and I have this one on top. Not this one over here. There you go. So we have this one now, right? Now I'm going to select this rectangle and make it so that it goes specifically like this over here. And that one, I'm going to undo that and place this right here. There you go. Now I will just remove the border because we do not need the border. Now this rectangle over here, I'm going to increase it so that it, yeah, there you go. So we have two states right now. So this is component 1, right? We have the default state like this and the state 2 like this. Now what I would want to do is basically go to the prototype over here, select, let's say, on that one, I'm going to press escape, go back to design over here. I'll move this component. Okay, I'll move this component over here, go to prototype over here, select this one, select this, and animation, not like that. On tap, transition, auto animate, shows an artboard. So I'm going to press state 2 over here, ease in and out, then button like that. There you go. So now I can go ahead and let's say go to design over here, go to view, then libraries over here. Now I have this component, right? I have this component. I can like place this over here. And if I were to go and play, if I were to click here, email address, as you can see, it came up like that. Now I'll go ahead across this. Why? Because I'm going to keep this one, right? Let me undo that. Let me place it like right over here on top. Let me move it so that it's right there. Go back to my layers over here. View, layers, there you go. There's the component 2, right? So this is the group 1. This is group 1 over here. I'm going to go ahead and move group 1. Sorry, I'll go ahead and disable group 1's view right now. But I still have the component over here. Now if I were to go to play over here and if I were to type anything here, as you can see, it becomes like that. Right, so you can have that kind of smooth animation to it, but I'll keep it as it is right now for now. So you can go ahead and create all the components for each and every single individual here. You do not need to specifically keep this component here. You can just like drag it and place it like anywhere else you want. You just need to go to your libraries over here and drag this component inside to use that component later on. So there you go. We have that. Now this one over here that I have, so I have this one, right? Let me go ahead and move this right over there. Right over here, there you go. This one right over here, there you go. This one right over here, there you go. I'm going to go ahead, place this like 2. And I'm going to move it like that. And I'm going to hold on Alt and increase it like this. Now I'm going to place this one right over here. Already have an account. Right over here. Then I'm going to basically copy this, paste this right over here. Now I'm going to press login. Already have an account, login. There you go. And I'm going to change this one's color. I'm going to change this one to a little bit bold. So I'm going to, instead of regular, I'm going to go for like black over here. And then change its color to, let's say, a little bit cyan over here. There you go. And instead of black over here, let's just go for bold. There you go. Login. So this login will have the prototype to basically move it into another page. So now we have these things, but now our design is still not complete. So what I would want to do over here is to basically select this, change its fill color to, let's say, cyan over here, or a little bit greenish cyan over here. There you go. Add in another text, login. Change the text color to black, no border, and change this one to black over here. There you go. Zoom in. I'm going to place it at the center over here. There you go. Increase its size to 20. There you go. These ones are all very big. So I'm going to go ahead, select this one. Change its size. No, 20 is okay. Let me go ahead and increase this one's size to, let's say, this big. And I'll move this one a little bit downwards over here. This one also a little bit downwards over here. There you go. Fine tuning it so that it's like aligned perfectly, and then placing it right at the center over here. Placing it like that, and right at the center over here. There you go. Instead of 20, I'll just give it 30. There you go. Login. 30 is still too much. 22, I guess. Yes, 22 is okay. So I'm going to give to a login like that at the center like this. Now we have a basic design. Now I'm just going to go ahead, change the square like this, select this, go back to layers over here. And we have this path. I'm just going to disable this path. As you can see, we have a very good design. Now you can go ahead and add a text. Let's say the gram. or the Grammy site. There you go. And I'm going to go ahead, change it to, let's say, 40 over here. I'm going to put this one over here at the center and realign all of this at the center like this, and realign them at the center like this. You can have like a logo or anything. I'm going to go ahead and change this one's text to, let's say, something like ink free, the Grammy site. There you go. I'm going to give a border for this, a red or black border, and then increase the border size to, let's say, 1. Let's try to give it like 1. So let's try to give it 1. As you can see, 1 doesn't work. Let me try to give it 5. 5 works okay. Let's try to give it like red, but that doesn't work. I'm just going to keep it at the center over here, then go to Object, Path, then convert to Path. There you go. Now once that is done, I'm going to go to Fill, or like disable the border over here. I'll undo everything. I'll disable the border over here. Select this. And give the border as well. Go to Object, go to Edit. Go to Object, go to Path. Convert to Path, go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. There you go. We're going to give the border. As you can see, nothing happens. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the color. So let's say linear gradient. There you go. The Grammy side, and I can change it to however I want, but this is okay. Let me go ahead, something like bluish like this. There you go. That looks pretty well thought. Now I'm going to go ahead, log in over here. That's okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in another text. Okay, so I'm going to add another text at the center like this. I'm going to align it to the center and put it right over here. But before that, I'm going to go to artboards over here. So I'm going to go ahead, go inside the path one over here. I'm going to enable. I don't need this one. I'm going to enable that. And as you can see, it is perfectly well aligned. So this one here, terms and conditions apply. Now you are not complied to add in a link here. So terms and conditions apply. You are not. Let me go and give it an underline. There you go. That looks much more refined and finished, right? But before that, we have the group one here. Let me disable that. There you go. Now it looks much more refined, right? Now, one thing that we are missing is the button to change it into a dark theme, right? So what I'm going to do is create a component for a button. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, create a rectangle like this. I need to see if this rectangle is perfectly outfitted for this artboard or not. I'm going to select it, select the square again. Over here, we have 10. I'm going to go ahead and move it right over here. Move it to the center over here. I want to see if it will aligns perfectly or not. I want to give it like a 3 by, there you go, 3. There you go. I want to make sure that it is aligned perfectly. I think, yeah, this is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and create a circle from the center like this. There you go. That is perfect. Now I'm going to move it so that it is like that. I'm going to select this and group this together. Then I'm going to make it into a component. There you go. I'm going to add in another state, new state over here, and I'm going to rename it as like dark theme state. There you go. The default state, can I rename it? No, I cannot rename it. So I'm going to go ahead, select this, go to the dark theme part over here, select this one and move it. Before that, let me go ahead and see, it's like 6 each. So let me go ahead and move it so that it's 6 like that. There you go. Now I'm going to select this, There you go. And we have the light theme default state and dark theme over here. But the dark theme over here will have its color changed, right? So the border here will be white and the fill here will be black. There you go. That will be for this dark theme and that will be for the light theme. Now we have our component. Now I'll go for the prototype over here. I'll select this. Now I'll give it a tap, or I can also give it a drag as well. Let's try for drag this time. Auto-Animate, then choose an artboard. I don't want to choose an artboard. What I would want to choose is the state. So drag doesn't work. So let me go for step. For tap, we can make it work. So we can ease in and out, as you can see, and that works. That works perfectly. So now what I would want to do is not this, because this is a component, right? We do not want a component for this because this component needs to work on something else. So I need to delete this. We do not need a component. I'll explain why later on. But for now, let me go ahead and undo everything so that it reverts back to a state before it was a component. So as you can see, this is not a component. This is just... So I'm going to first select this, drag this and copy this because we need this one later. So I'm going to select this, change the border color to white and change the fill color to black because we are going to need this. And I'm basically going to paste this right on top over here so that there you go. And I'm going to basically move this outside of our artboard right now. So we have this one specifically done. Now let's go ahead and make a dark theme one. Okay. So I'm going to place this. So this is login. So this is login page light theme, right? There you go. This will be, let me copy this so that it's easier. This will be login page dark theme. Dark theme, there you go. Now what I'll basically do is select this and add in black over there. There you go. Now for this email address over here, we have, for this component over here, we have default state and state to right. So for default state over here, I'm going to go ahead, select this and change this one's color to white over here. There you go. Now, if I were to go ahead, deselect that, select this, go to state 2, as you can see, it's different, right? So I need to do one thing, is basically change this one. So I'm going to select this, select the border to be light, fill to be black, right? Now I'm going to select this one over here and this color to be white over here. There you go. This will be the dark theme one. Now I'm going to go ahead, deselect this, go back to my default state over here. Select this box over here, I change the border to white and change the fill color to black. Now I'm going to do the same thing for all the rest. So this one here, password here to be filled. If you have different components, it's better to have a separate component and to make that component out to be so that like a light version component and a dark version component. That's all. Now, one thing we need to do is remove this. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Select this. Also need to change the text color for this one. There you go. Also need to change the text color for this one as well. There you go. Everything else is the same. I'm going to select this and move this so that it's at the center over here. Also need to select this and have the square grid on so that I can realign it perfectly. There you go. It's realigned perfectly. Now I'm going to go ahead, select this, and change the square button like that. Now, time for prototyping. So I'm going to go ahead and select this button over here, and that will basically go over here. So it's going to be tab Auto-Animate login page dark theme. There you go. Now I'm going to select this button over here and go back over here, login page dark theme. Easy enough. Now, if I were to go to preview over here, go to select this. There you go. It changes the prototyping basically. Now, the only thing that you need to keep in mind is you need to first copy this, then give the prototyping. So you need to set the buttons up first. Okay. So after setting the buttons up first, then you need to, let's say, change the background color, then the text. Because as you see here, I changed the text boxes first, right? So because of that, once I select this, it happens like that. As you see, once I select this, it happens like that. Because I changed the boxes and the text colors and the borders color first, that's why the border colors and the text boxes and the text outline color changes first. That's why. Now, the other thing you need to do to create or to complete this class project is to make a copy like this, but not the prototype version. Do the prototyping at the last part. So if I were to select this, if I were to go to prototype over here, as you can see, this prototype. So now this part over here will be different. So this part will only have the email address or phone number. So here you will have, let's say, select this email address. You need to create another component like this, but this component will be email address / phone number, and this one. And the box below, you need to give the password, and you need to delete this one. You need to delete this one. Then you have to select this downwards. There you go. Now you have to select this. I'm going to group it up together now so that I can place them at the center, then ungroup them. There you go. This will still be here. The site will still be there. Now here, instead of login, it will be sign up. Sign up. There you go. Also, another thing that you need to know here, it won't be login, it will be sign up over here. There you go. Same case for here. It will be sign up. There you go. The same case will be for the dark version. Why I'm saying this is because let's go to prototyping again. Let's go to this. Let's go to prototype. So this here, login, right? So I'm going to select this and select this over here. So it's going to be on tap, not auto-animate. This will be not even a transition. You can also try set a transition if you want to. And you can have the animation to anything like push left, or dissolve, any kind of transitions, but auto-animate, hyperlink, overlay, scroll to previous artboard, audio playback, or speech playback. So I'm going to give in like transition and like none. So none selected. And then that's it. And once I go to prototype over here, so that if I were to select this, as you can see, this will go to select that, but this one is inactive. But if I were to go here, this is active. So if I were to select this, as you can see, this is the login. Sign up button here, not so much because I did not set up the sign up. So I can select this sign up button and go over here to tap. Now, if I were to go to prototype, now I can go ahead, click on sign up, go back here, type in my email address if I want to over here, go back to login over here, go back to sign up. Then I can also change my theme as well. So do the same thing for the rest, create another one, and also the error screen. So the error screen is basically like this. You create this one over here. Let's say you got your email address wrong. Okay, you got your email address wrong. So you need to do one thing is basically, like let's say you got your password wrong. Okay, so you need to select this or ungroup this first. So after ungrouping this, you need to copy this right over here. Okay, now let me go ahead and make it like, so it's like 10, or let's say it's this one again, and then I'll just basically type in wrong password, or as it's like password and confirm password. So passwords don't match. And then I'm going to select all of it, and then up here I'm going to select 10 because 10 is much more better. And then at the like end, at the home, I'm going to go ahead and select a star over here. Then I'm going to place it right over here, or like let's say right over here. Passwords don't match and passwords don't match. Now, if you do not like this design layout, you can do another thing is you can go ahead. You can go ahead and make it so that this text over here is smaller, this text over here are smaller. So when will these passwords don't match will happen? Let's say your input state over here and in this input state over here is wrong. Then under prototype over here, you need to move over there. But that's not your part to play, because that will be for the developers to play. Your only objective here is to just create this design. You do not need to have a prototype screen over to hit this one. You only need prototype screen to over only the functionality one, where there will be no coding like related stuff. And then you also have to create another page over here where it will say basically that emails, like the email that you entered is wrong. So invalid email basically. So here it will be invalid email. There you go. So this will be invalid email. You have to put it over here at the center. So there you go, invalid email for that one. Then you have to also create another one which will say invalid phone number. Okay. And you basically have to create every page like this, and you have to also create every page like this for the dark theme ones as well. And that will be your class project for this entire class project as well. Now you also need to create same thing for here for this one, and this one will have like wrong email address inputted and wrong password. If you get both of this wrong, you need to have one page which will say that credentials are wrong. So your email address and password both are wrong. One page for wrong email address, one page for wrong password. Okay, and you need to put those things in, and that will be your entire class project. And that will be also the end for this class project session. I've already showed you the examples on how you can create this unique design, and how you can create dark theme as well, and the buttons and the components as well. Now the rest of the responsibility is up to you to create and finalize this class project and submit it to your teacher. So that will be all for this class project. Thank you for your time, and goodbye.